the amount of hours and days investing in the process where I didn't know it's going to work. It's not going to work the stitches, the topology, the displacement UVs, and then making displacement. I was totally blind. I just, I'm going to try and see what happened. And it turned out really well because one thing, I'm avoiding crazy amount of polygons. I'm using textures and displacement. So that's really good for Cinema 4D. As you know, I struggle with the amount of geometry.
Yeah, imagine that in dense. Oh God,
But another things I was scared of, it was the actual productivity working with you. In terms of creating,
I'm a fancy boy. Yeah.
Creating a car and now doing interiors and now doing insane amount of details in the seat, wrinkles, leather, everything in one file.
Talk about that. It's so cool. I love it. Just I get these little gifts where you just kind of come out and be like, here you go. I'm like, this is insane. So good. Yeah.
But it's true that this project went out of the windows with renders because we love the car. There's so many possibilities from the 3 version for the race spec, and then liveries, and then what about the car is running? What about the car here in places? It's just endless.
The rotational direction, where it sits on the car. We have this messed up. We're supposed to have that arrow right here to point to like where the valve is, but
that was my bad, man.
No, it's both of us.
Just plenty of amazing photographer doing this.
Yeah.
Just try to understand why this long lens, why the car is doing this, why is the body, what you just do it. Basically copy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the reference is just like taking that and then being inspired, and then it's not uncommon for us to take a ton of references and throw them in a pile and like consolidate and then put them forwards, right? Because we're done with the design phase. Now it's time to see it, and then also see it with like a livery on it. And we got the updated modern version of the Haste logo too. We've removed the exclamation point because people were going hasty, and no, not hasty, not haste. Not hasty. It's just, yeah. So now it's just haste. So that helps it as well. So it's kind of fun. Like all prior cars, clothes, everything is the old version, and now we've just dropped that and evolved it
evolving,
further.
baby.
It's evolving, baby. I know you had some worries about it, but I think it's, if anything, like it keeps Ken present with us, and we're celebrating his impact on us in a beautiful way by paying tribute to it with this livery.
Yeah. But it's funny though. I just realized about that later when I finished all the renders, and then I was looking at it like, this reminds me of something.
You didn't know it when you're doing it?
No, not at all.
Oh, we're here.
Finally. This is something new.
This is something new. What is new about this?
The jumper. That could be that. What is the new thing? You tell me. What is going on? Why we have this?
Yeah, we usually go backwards in time and look back on the builds, and we realize what was happening is we were just kind of looking at it from a future eye rather than being in the present moment of creating something. And since this is our latest project and we've been pouring hours and hours of our time and love into this RXR G2 RXR process and project, we thought it would be really good to show the process in real time as it's happening to us now, and almost time capsule this as well. And then pair this with the release. Every time we release something, we try to find a different way to express ourselves or try a new thing, and this is one of them. It's fun. We put a lot of time and energy into trying to figure out the best way to formulate this. And
it's exciting because, as you said, normally we just talk over our old work, which is not really exciting for us in terms of us showing something new on the media. Maybe you guys don't know, but every single time we drop something new, at least for me, I get nervous. Even just dropping Instagram or Behance, I'm getting nervous. Because it's something new, I'm putting a lot of love and pressure and work I'm putting out there. Some reason I'm still kind of insecure in that side, thinking, oh man, hopefully my people loved it. I don't know what it's gonna be. It always has these small windows of
imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
Interesting. Well, thankfully we have one another. Yeah,
exactly. And also this project as well. This is something you're gonna notice the different vibe we have right now because we are really excited about so many weeks. I don't know. I don't want to even count the months working on this one, but we are really excited to drop it and make a breakdown video about everything.
Yeah. Yes. Let's dig into it. I agree.
Ooh, man.
This is awesome. Super
Also, we have
excited.
a new format. Yeah, the way they describe the video, we have now swapping screens. So it's going to be Ash talking shit, me talking shit over and over. So it's going to be interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. We're trying something new so that it's a little bit more dynamic as well, and just kind of constantly being able to be in a good flow state. The real key thing is for us to connect to you, the audience, and basically transcend the screen, and then also get you to be inspired by what we're doing, hopefully, and motivated and seeing things. And also it helps us communicate better, which is really what we're doing as designers. We're just trying to find multiple dimensional ways of communicating, which is really fun. So hopefully this new format works.
Totally. So tell me why we're doing a Porsche and this specific model 997.
Well, I think the original incept happened with a conversation with a close friend of ours who was looking at potentially building one for themselves. And that kind of spurred into us saying, I guess it's time for us to do a Porsche. We've been, Carlos, you can talk to this as well, as designers and auto enthusiasts, the Porsche world is so special, and their design ethos and product, the way they release their products and how they massage the 911 exactly is over time is really inspiring. And it's also really daunting to approach it because Porsche has been refining this for so long. It's really key to do this right. And so we were kind of, I think it's been about 4 years, Carlos and I have been making haste and really putting this whole thing together. And we've always wanted to do a Porsche, but we've held off because of our respect for the brand and respect for everything. And it's interesting that we're choosing the 997 as the first one to enter into.
Yeah, it's not really fancy or popular car you can pick, right? You have icons like a 964, 969, 964, 993.
Yeah.
I mean, so many out there. And yeah, unfortunately, 997 is not kind of the cup of tea for everyone. And that could be also super interesting to our side, approaching this kind of a unpopular car. It's still beautiful. I think it has all the feature from Porsche, and maybe because it didn't age well in some different part and areas. But yeah, don't get me wrong. I think it's amazing, this car, how it looks. I mean, how good it looks.
Yeah. I'd say out of all of them, I'd say the one right prior to this one, probably with the different changed lights, is probably the one that's most unloved. But I'd say then this one as well, this chassis. And I suppose that's it, right? It's a good challenge for us to take this on and then add our own flair and think about it in a different way. I think that's what's interesting about the brand of Porsche is outside designers, outside thinkers, outside builders, outside minds come into what Porsche has made as a benchmark and apply their own personality, take interest, and sometimes it hits incredibly well, and sometimes not so much. I'd say like a really great re-addition to these cars is obviously Singer, and then I believe his name is Florian. He's a designer, and he does that stuff with Tuttle, and those are incredible. The Singer Tuttle, like Baja kind of crazy car, is absolutely stunning and such a cool way to do it at the high level. And I think that's a similar thing we're trying to consider with this 997 rethink. And yeah, it's just so fun to play in this sandbox of Porsche.
Yeah, the sandbox Porsche is really cool, man. From my side, I feel like it's quite intimidating for a different reason. Mainly because Porsche, the legacy of the brand, all the cars are almost perfection, and it's really intimidating to put your hands on it and pretending you're gonna improve it. Come on, you can't. And also, it doesn't help out there. It's so much noise about Porsche, right? You go to social media, Porsche just ramp up for so many different output from designers, photographers. and it's like, why even bother to even try to do a Porsche, right? And we started 4 years ago, and always the conversation, some reason it's kind of the hidden conversation, a taboo conversation of Porsche. Well, we can do a Ferrari maybe. Yeah, let's do a Ferrari. We can do maybe Audi. Yeah, let's do Audi. But Porsche is being kind of a taboo. Oh, we don't touch Porsche, you know. And some reason, I think is the time is comes. I think we are more mature in our workflow. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think we have so much ahead to learn about it, to keep improving. But I think we are in the mature stage where both of us, we can work in tandem and passing each other ideas, and it's working really well so far, and we feel ready to do it.
Yeah, that was it. And so I think I agree. There's a lot of saturation. There's a lot of potential noise in the space when it comes to Porsche. So when we decided to do this, we knew when Carlos and I we have a kind of a similar personality in this way, where if we decide to do something and we do it all in, there's no halfway. I think if you've been watching what we do, that's our approach. Although we don't physically build these cars just yet, we will eventually. A lot of these things will be built physically, but we treat it just the same and give it that much respect. And I think the timing to do this was just right now. I think that we've both matured in a certain way in order to approach this task, and it's really fun, and it's very exciting and very challenging, which has been really wonderful. And it's been a really fun process. I think from the onset, we had thought about doing just one car, one version of the 997, which would be the haste version. It would be Ash and Carlos mind melded concept. And then what we realized too, which is really fun, we'll get into the RXR, is that we also did a track spec, and to kind of look back at Porsche's heritage of racing. And this is their RSR from back on this chassis. And it's really cool to see the racing lineage. We're going to talk about some of the other stuff. I'm not a super big historian on Porsche as a brand. I wish I was. I wish I had more data.
Same.
Yeah, it's awesome. And I think it's because, in my vantage point, just like Ferrari, they have such a wealth of racing pedigree. It's hard to track which one for which track at which racing league and so on and so forth. But the one thing that I think is true, and you really feel it through the brand, is that motorsports is very important to the brand, and you feel that in the DNA of the cars itself, and the functionality and the setting, how these cars sit when they're just static, how they look and feel, and they have a uniqueness to them. It's a very classic thing. It's again, I'm going to bring it up multiple times, but I love that when a brand takes their recipe and then adds on it and then just refines it, and then also gives the audience, the customer base, the base to work from and modify and expand upon it. And I just love that. I think that's why that's the magic formula of Porsche. There's many magic formulas of them, but I think that's one of them, is the ability to put your mark on it, but at the same time have a wonderful starting base. And you can see this in relevancy of, say, like Nike and the Air Jordan or something like that. It's a good base for expression, and then you can add on it, and then it kind of expands. But it's like refining these things potentially as things evolve. And Porsche is that for automobiles. I can't think of another OEM that does it. I'm sure there are, but like, maybe the Corvette is an evolved thing, but the Corvette has changed so much from what it was in the original edition of itself visually, that they're almost unrecognizable. The C8 compared to the C1 or C2 you wouldn't think they were of the same lineage. So it's cool to see the 964. You can see the 964 evolved into the 997 in various ways, But yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah. Also, here you pointed the connection between the track version and the street is there. Is visual is there. And we tried something similar. We started making question, what if we can use the same body for the street, also for the track, just adding additional feature here and there. We're gonna show you later how it could be the translation from street and the track and the track and the street, which is super challenging, because something in CGI you can do is everything. You can go wild really quick and losing the sense of taste, measure, and all that. And that's one of, to me, I don't know about you, Ash, but for me that was one of the main challenge for me. Keep it branded as a Porsche, but at the same time doing something special and different, bringing aggressiveness on the car, even from the street version, which is really tricky. Keeping the kind of a box where you can go wild, but not that much. So that balance is really hard doing in CG, because you move your three-dimensional object in the screen, not as a reality. I guess that's why some of the designers are using VR, because help to get the sense of volume in real time. But yeah, that's basically, really looking forward to show you what we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point too. Like, just because it is in CGI, we can get easily lost into, the infinite possibilities of what things can be. And we'll kind of talk about our process here, because another real key point to this thing is discussing and exposing and evolving our process and communicating our process as designers, as people that love automobiles, and kind of evolving this conversation, which is really fun. When we do start this process, Carlos and I are big on inspiration. It always starts with what we like to call like the muse, the inspiration, the cars that we look to as inspiration and pull from. The real beautiful thing is we have this vantage point from the future, right? We can look at the current day designs of Porsches, dissect the DNA from that, and then go backwards in time. And that's a real key feature, because when the designers were making the 997, you have to think, when an OEM designs a car, when it's released, it's usually backdated. The design starts to like 5 or 6 years prior to that, usually, or even earlier than that, because to actually homologate, build, manufacture, and build the things at scale, it takes a huge cycle of time, energy, and capital to do so. So we have the beautiful benefit of being here in 2025, whereas the designers back then, they were probably 6 years before release of the car. So we can look at what's currently being designed, conceptualized, and then take that. So that's a bit of a secret weapon we have, and something to really add to, because this is something that the designers of that time did not have, and now we have this, and so we're using it. So you want to talk about some of this inspiration, because it's really key, why we picked these specific cars, these specific references, and what we used from them.
Man, I love that you mentioned that, because it's true. It's not fair.
It's not fair.
2025 and say, oh yeah, this looks way better than 10 years ago. Well, 10 years ago, when Porsche dropped a new 911, we are like, oh wow, beautiful. And then every single year it happens. Like this kind of, they drop and evolve the design further, and it's easy to get used to it and get it for granted. But man, those move and shifting in the different direction is really hard, and I don't know how they do it, but they drop it every single time, and it makes so much sense. And that's why we have so many references to show you, because there are so many amazing details on the Porsche in every single different version, bumpers, edition, lifting, just it's crazy. So picking the ones we love the most, that could be also another conversation. But that's why we have so broad of reference, where all the details, they are beautiful. So the key point here is just selecting the ones we like, and maybe also evolve from there, because we don't want to just copy and paste and make kind of a Frankenstein Porsche. We want to, bring some taste as well, our thoughts or ideas.
Yeah, that's easy to do with these cars. It's not to create the harmony. You can easily just go, well, I like this thing from the rear bumper, and then and then all of a sudden you have a car that has no cohesive qualities. When we design something, and we'll get into this method more when we talk about the CGI, but we look at it from all angles constantly to go, well, how does this curve reflect in this side of the car, or at this angle, standing angle, kneeling angle, complete side, front, all these things. And that's why we have a lot of these references. We've used, I think we've mentioned this before, but a great resource that we love to use is Bring a Trailer, simply because when people are trying to sell their vehicle, they take the best photographs of them and they take detailed photographs of them, which helps us see it. So all of these references are coming from bring a trailer, at least this one right here, obviously, the silver car that we have. And then the rest, there's like, Google and things like that. I know that we like to reference, this is a GT3 cup spec, I believe.
Yep.
And obviously we reference this. We love this eventually evolves in truer form later on in the bodies, as you can see, say like right here, which this front is just absolutely stunning and a beautiful evolution of the Porsche language, the green, the green modern car. And that's something that was a big inspiration for us as well. Also this conceptual car right here. This was shown to us by our friend who was discussing building this with as a reference. And do you remember what this car is? Which one this is?
I think it's a Cayman Electric.
That's it. Yeah. A concept.
Yeah. Wow. That's
super wild. Yeah.
It's crazy. And for sure, it was one of those massive inspiration to look that bumper, which is bring all the Porsche legacy, and it's beautiful. And so many you can get from here. And we have it was also as well on the back, as well, or the rear bumper as well. The way it goes and the spread around, beautiful lines, and I think it's been already quite a base established for Porsche. This kind of a language on the front bumpers and the rear bumper.
The greenhouse hasn't changed a lot, which makes the car still maintain. It just hasn't. I mean, it's changed a lot. It's just the greenhouse shape from like the original cars, the original chassis haven't changed as much. So it's much more. It's recognizable. It's everything below that starts to really advance the design. Obviously, lights, and then the speed line that cuts in and then fades into the door. Then it also connects into the bumper line and all of these kind of things. It's just fantastic. Porsche design has got such a beautiful, evolved, mature feel to it. And it's something that I know that a lot of OEMs look to and try to emulate, but they just can't because they don't have that lineage. You can see it, but these cars were designed to do the one thing, and that's to go fast, efficiently, and effectively. And that's wonderful. And you could see it in the design of it. And that kind of comes through the lineage of the cars all the way down to the base model.
Yeah. Now I'm looking the yellow GT3 RS, and something I've been reflecting right now, thinking the easy option for us would be, all right, let's add all the latest shit from Porsche and adding on to 987. That could be the easy core, because this car, maybe it's not my cup of tea, but I cannot say this car is amazing. It looks wild. If Porsche can do something wild, too. It could be that car. Yeah, that's it. This is the one. But I think it wouldn't be fair to go extreme. I think that's one of those intentions, as we mentioned. It was trying to get the right balance and picking the right things and evolve from there.
Yeah. I mean, so to add to that, like, because we have the vantage point of the future, taking the GT3 RS, the modern design implementation, and then applying it to the 997 isn't really the way that we wanted to approach this either, because we've seen it where people try to do that, and I don't think it's not completely thought through in my mind as a designer. It's like you have to respect the current lines and then evolve it from there, and then take that discussion and evolve it basically. And what they did with the lines, obviously, is they created a lot of negative space, and then they filled that negative space in with these like outer side pieces and things like that. And it's kind of an easy thing to go, oh, I want to just apply that to that. And that's not really problem solving in a holistic full form version, which is what we'll talk about in a little bit. But we look at these things as inspiration, right? These are these beautiful objects of the current day. And how can we take this and then apply it to what we have? How can we add to it rather than just remix it? How can we add to the story of what Porsche is as a design entity? And also, I think the method we always consider too is we kind of act like as if we were the people at Porsche hired to design these cars. And what would it be? If Porsche was like, hey, we're going to bring back the 997 chassis and we're going to modernize it. Well, then what does that look like with the new tooling and everything, which is great. we can't go further without talking about our friends at BBI.
Yeah, shout out to BBI.
Yep, Batim and Dimitri. We were heavily inspired by, I think this is their GT3 cup car. I think that's the cup car. I can't remember exactly. I've seen this car in person at the shop. It's insane.
It looks insane.
It's truly remarkable. It's really something beautiful. And we completely lifted from the uprights in the rear, which were amazing. The moment I saw that, I was like, that has to be what we used. And then also inspired by the waterfall post, the front wheel in the back there. But from then on, what was cool is me personally being able to see this car and then bring it to Carlos and saying like, oh, this car is epic. Let's look at it. Let's study it. Let's understand what we love about it, and then take that and evolve it. And this is like real race car stuff, which is fantastic. And BBI, they make some of the most incredible Porsches, and they're working on something really beautiful. But yeah, do you want to talk about this car a little bit, or things that you really loved about it?
Yeah, it's so many things. Mainly, it's a real race car.
Yeah.
And kind of a shame, man. I wasn't able to be there with you, just seeing the car in reality, because I'm pretty sure in this picture it doesn't make justice of this car.
Yeah.
Mainly because it looks so raw, and I love that the Mancraft from BBI is there. It's incredible. It's really inspiring to see, and for us it was also a study why they're making this, why everything is all performance, and that is the main key here. It's just performance. So it was perfect muse for us. BBI, the way they work and the way they approach things is always kind of the North Star for us. And just trying to understand what you're doing as a designer is something kind of doesn't make any sense. Are you trying really to understand what this guy is doing? No, not really. But definitely something really inspiring, something to look at.
Yeah, we're big fans, and the big thing we love is like, these are our friends, and it's so amazing to be inspired, and also to give them respect and love for what they're doing. And also Porsche, again, they're deeply connected to the culture of Porsche. And I believe this is a straight race spec car that's been retired or bought by a potential client or something. I can't remember the exact details, and I'm sure Dimitri and Batim could speak to that. We should have them on at some point and talk about these kind of things. Would be awesome.
For sure.
But yeah, so we're going to continually give a shout out to them, and also this shoot. So they're developing this amazing 993 right now, which is they're taking the 992, best in the 992, and putting it in this chassis, which is fantastic. Larry Chen did an awesome interview spotlight on this whole car, so definitely check that out on YouTube, where Batim talks about the build and all these kind of things, which is fantastic. And I instantly texted Batim. I was like, I need to see this thing. We need to hang out. And he was kind enough to be like, hey, we're doing shakedown tests at Thermal. And I brought my film cameras and all my cameras, and it was just a freaking epic day watching this thing rip around the course. And then I was, of course, sharing this with Carlos, and Carlos gets super inspired and motivated. And then we just kind of take it from here and just keep going and evolving the conversation. And yeah.
It's so funny, man. All these events happening in some ways. It's really hard to not be romantic, because everything is happening for a reason, and you were in the right moment, in the right spot. We both of us, the right moment to be all right. I think it's time to do a Porsche, and then everything's happened for some reason, and we get this amazing shooting. When I saw the pictures, like, oh man, what the fuck? So good. It was so great to see this. Not just as a GE artist, just a automotive lover.
Yeah, it's awesome. It all kind of comes together, and of course it is romantic, right? These are the things that we lust for. Carlos and I aren't wealthy. We can't just like throw gobs of money at things and have things built at our whim. We have to like manifest these things, and then the moment we get close to them, we cherish them because they're beautiful and they're coveted objects, and it's really an awesome thing. And I want to personally just thank Batim and Dimitri and the whole team for opening their window of awesomeness for us to see, and also just being present in that. I just, as a CGI artist, you get really lost in the sauce if you're not able to really connect with these things on a physical form. And it's really great to be able to take photographs and hear it and talk to them and understand some of the engineering and the conceptual ideas behind these things. And so that was one of the things that was really significant. And we're going to show some renders later on, which are really fun and basically directly inspired by this. Another benefit is I got to see this wild beast there as well. And it was running at 10 tenths on the track, which was insane. Absolutely amazing. So there were both of these like incredible Porsches out there, the 993 and then this insane, beautiful machine that was like modern and beautiful. And I know that this deeply inspired big time this build and the inspiration that came from it, and then taking what they were doing and then evolving it past what we felt like Porsche's doing, which is really cool.
Totally, man. This thing is beautiful. Definitely worth the study.
Yeah. So much to see. So much sauce. Yeah. Look at the lay, the lines, and, you know, being present in these moments when I'm taking these photographs, I'm just trying to not get in anybody's way and then just be very much a voyeur and just finding these things. And then later on when we look at it, it's like looking at it as reference and muse. It's like a whole different way of seeing it. So it's really cool. It's really awesome to be there, be present. And then also what I love to do is get Carlos excited, because I know that this stuff is just directly goes right into his spongy brain.
Yeah, you know me very well. Yeah, it's happened. It's happened.
Yep.
When I see this, the way you pick all the angles, like, yeah, it's super inspiring. Also, man, I have to say also that your grading on this photo.
These are all JPEGs straight out of my camera. I bake everything into the camera.
Right.
There's no grading, which is crazy. Yeah. Yeah, even the black and white is straight JPEG inside of the camera.
Love it.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful process, man.
Yeah, well, Fujifilm, man. Yeah, my little XH2S. If you're out there and want a camera that's awesome, this little camera is like the best camera I've ever owned. You can get it's a XE3 or you can get XE4. I shoot with XE4. And I have an XH2S, but I prefer the XE4. But anyways, that's a whole different thing. But that bakes it in. And yeah, so huge shout out to Dimitri, Batim, their amazing car. We're going to pay tribute to it as much as we can. Hopefully we do. And our RXR. So you want to talk a bit about the quick sketch and study?
Definitely. Something some of the people is asking the way we work together. And this could be the first stage where we sit down together in a call like right now.
Yep.
And then we start to talk over and open Photoshop and just sketching rapidly with all the massive reference I saw, guys, but even more reference, also internet. So imagine that, just basically just a brainstorm with Photoshop open and just sketching on top what it could be. What about this? What about that? We know both of us this is really rough. It's not really pristine. Also pleasant to look at, but for us it helped to put the base, understand each other. All right, I think we are aiming to do something like this. What is the theme of the car? Is this, and we don't need that much to get this kind of alignment. It could be maybe 35 minutes. We know this is gonna work. It's gonna be a banger. Yeah, obviously we have to refine, still sketching some stuff on the top to really grinding, but the theme is here, is planted. It's almost 80% of the car is there. From here we can deviate and talk about different solution. What it could be the bumper, what is to be the intake, what about the rear wing, what about the hood, what about the headlights. All these small conversations happen through the months ahead. It could be, sometimes it could be just 1 week because of schedule, or it could be just a long conversation. What about that? What about this? I don't know. But in this Porsche, we felt it. Like, yeah, it was basically, I don't know, not that much. In 1 week, we know, all right, this is going to be the banger. This is it.
Love that. Exactly. Yeah. The great thing is we always start with this like a conversation. Carlos and I, thankfully, are really good at communicating to one another. And so it transcends into this thing. And when we did this, so to give some concept, we took the stock 997 car, lowered it, put it on our beefy meats and some Enkei wheels, JDM wheels, which is always fun to put a Japanese wheel on a German car. And then we painted over that, did a quick concept over that. And then from there, we realized let's break the rules a little bit more. Let's go further and let's evolve this conversation. So the way we do that is it's almost like a grocery list. You go into the store. So what do you want from the store? Oh, I want a bigger wing, or I want these type of, swan neck uprights, or vents on the hood, or over fender creases and curves, or a waterfall. So you put all these kind of lists of modifications. But there's a box that we know we need to work within, right? So we don't touch the greenhouse, keep the greenhouse standard, but everything else we play with. I think we were inspired by the latest Mustang, race spec Mustang that they have. They have these like uprights that come from like really high in the car, and
I think it was the GTD.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called. Yeah,
GTD. Yeah.
Yeah, and then just like kind of putting together the list of things. Oh, we want, and with a quick, with a design intention of vision, you can quickly address these things within like 20-30 minute conversation with just like a red marker. Is a design, when you study design and a lot of like these designs that are iconic today, to use a story like George Lucas, from what I understand, George Lucas designed the Millennium Falcon, the TIE Fighter, and the X-Wing on a napkin during a lunch with colleagues that were building the film. And he was like, oh, the X-Wing looks like this as an X. And then the TIE Fighter is a circle with two T's on the outside. And then like I think they were eating a hamburger. He's like, oh, like the Millennium Falcon looks like a hamburger, and when you have intention and you distill and then you know what you need to do, it's easy to get to the end. And this is just like putting out the blanket list. Okay, this thing has that and that and that and that and that, and here's the ingredients. And as Carlos said, it's like working big, medium, small, right? It's a common thing with artists. You go big and then you go medium, then you go small. You never invert that, because when you invert it, then you come up with like a very weird, horrible experience potentially, because you're just like, I want the lights. I want each light to, and then you're like, well, the lights look cool, but the rest of the car looks horrible. And because you didn't work big, medium, small, you have to go out to in. And that's a whole process. It's a methodology in regards to actually efficiently creating solid designs. So, yeah.
Also, now I'm fascinated looking at these sketches because it brings some memories. And two topics to me was a big one. The first topic, it was on the fence, what it's going to be. You had the fenders and you have this kind of a flare on the front fender, but on the back it's totally clean. And it seems like a Porsche, they're using this a lot. On the front you have only one flare bubble, and then on the back is clean, which is super interesting. And I never find it pleasant to look at, like something is odd. On the back is clean, but on the front you have that. So that always been the conversation through the project. From the front is totally visible, but on the back is clean. And I remember we were really close to replicate from what you have on the front, also on the back. But something interesting there, once we start to play in three-dimensional, we realize, for some reason, Porsche doesn't do that. And we discover why, because it looks too busy. The rear hips of the car is so beautiful. If you mess around with that, you are screwed. You are totally out of the game. And this is something interesting as well, and that could be another the part of the conversation of the surface of the rear hips of the car is so iconic and so specific. You cannot do something off because it looks weird. You need to be like that's a Porsche and it looks like this. You see all the clean surface from Porsche on the back. It's just pureness, beautiful.
Yeah, so what you're saying is we were considering doing an over fender cut line and putting into the rear, and we instantly realized, okay, well, you cut into the functionality of the inlets on the rear hips, and then at the same time you break this beautiful line. That's why I think a lot of RWB designs still work really nice and harmonious, because the over fender comes up really high. It doesn't run low into it. So I think we really pretty much instantly knew that that's what we were going to do. It just took us a little bit of time to understand it. A lot of times when you design things what's really great is we try to create a blank space to just think evenly and openly, and we're not reinventing the wheel. What we're doing is we're combining all of these inspirations and motive and things that inspire us, in the hopes that it will kind of evolve into its own thing. And we hope that you feel the same way, because that's what it feels like to us at this point. Is it became its own thing entirely, which is great. But that's really the trick, right? Is finding that harmony between it, and knowing when to stop and when to go, which is always the trick.
Yep. And the other topic, it was the headlights and taillights. And I love the fact you got it clear from almost from the get-go. All right, what if this? And immediately hit like I'm down. Let's do that. We can show maybe later about the headlights and taillights. But as you might know, guys, we talk about this a lot. It's about the headlights and taillights. For us, it's like the face of the car, and establish immediately the theme of the car. Is really we can be maybe too biased and sensitive about the headlights, but we feel it bring a lot of personality if you mess around with the headlights. And Porsche obviously is really iconic, those big eyes from the front. But I love the fact you got it clear from the beginning. You wanted to play with the negative space on the headlights.
Yeah. I mean, it's just a conversation we have, and we were thinking about so many different eyes. There's the bolide or whatever, the X that was on their eye. And a car is just an anthropomorphized version of a human. So it's, if you get the face wrong or the expression's weird, it's not going to read right. I think that's what makes the Porsche front so interesting, because it's still has a playful, open-eyed kind of thing, but then you add all these extra pieces to it. So it starts to shift and change itself in the expression that it has, elongates or expresses itself, or like pulls down and it feels like a stretched face or something interesting. But yeah, it's all kind of all kind of an inspiration. And again, it all kind of comes into perspective when we're thinking about what this needs to be, what it can be. And then we just go down these enormous rabbit holes, as you'll see once we pass like the quick sketch study phase. This is this exterior body. We'll talk to this about everything here, but we also, again, have the privilege of being ahead of the curve. So this is what we did past the design phase. We don't necessarily work this clean when we do this stuff, but it's nice to show. And we did it mainly just because we wanted to show you what our RXR is, and then in comparison to, say, the stock body and stock lines and kind of the main things that we shifted and changed about the car. So we have two models here. We have our street spec version on the right. This is our RXR. And then this is, I believe this is one of the baseline Carreras, the 997 Carrera. Yep. So, it's kind of unfair. We also, matched exactly the wheel diameter, ride height, from a stock car, and we kept it matte black for both of these to not have any color influence it. But this is kind of almost a one-to-one. Some of these things change because in the end we had to remodel the entire car. So certain lines and things changed, and both of these are not coming from an accurate millimeter precise scan. They're coming from, just photographs and things. So just something to consider and keep in mind when we go into this process.
Yeah, it was a key for us to try to explain the difference between the actual new RXR and the old one, and that's why we decided to make the renders as clean as possible to show the highlights of the body, how it works and how it flows. And I think these turned out really well to show the difference between the left and the right version. Is something like maybe this turned out like a sort of a soft reveal, but you can see already quite a lot of changes from the stock model and our own version. It looks,
and this is just the street spec version. It's not the race spec, which we'll get into as well.
Yeah. We're running on the front 20s, on the back 21s each, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And stock, I think it was 19s, I believe, or 18s, I believe.
Yeah.
And I can't remember the exact specs on the tires. We're just putting Toyo Proxys R888s on there just because that's the file we have. But yeah, so the modern cars, because the chassis is a little bit bigger, ours isn't that much bigger from it, but we opened everything up and condensed down. Again, we have the privilege and the right and the ability to work in the CGI space, so we don't have to be stuck to road conditions or ride dynamics. But if you look at the OEM currently, the spec, ride height, and everything from the factory on the more racing version of the car is pretty low and pretty impressive. And that instantly, obviously we always talk about that. The eyes are the lights are the eyes to the soul of the car, and then the wheels are like the ground in which it runs on, and that's the reality you play with. And this is really the key to finding a cohesive design that works together. Maybe what we could do is we can go from front to back with the overlay and kind of work on discussing some of the master lines of some of the things that we did and how we changed them.
Totally. Actually, for me, the overall view from the side view, to me, the feeling of the car has a rapid and a speed feeling, and I love that. Compared with the old version, obviously it doesn't help. We are using the stock model CG; it's not really accurate, but for me, this new approach we have here, we wanted to bring that speed, also give the really solid base. In order to create that solid base, for me, is creating connection between from the front and the back. For that sharp line on the bumper, continue to the end, also connecting with the back. Adding also the waterfall right behind on the front wheel, making that connection as well with the intake. Everything start to come together, creating that solid base where bring the car the rigid at the same time the speed what the Porsche need.
Yeah. We have that phrase that we always constantly use called sitting speed. When a car sits and looks fast, that you've done your job. And I think that's really the key here. Obviously, as we mentioned, since we did remodel the car, we're not going on one-on-one, so one for one based on the model. So there's going to be some discrepancies on the master line, say the doors and then the hoods and so on and so forth. So when you see that, those are those discrepancies that are between the two models. But if we can talk about potentially, one of the things we did is the 997 slants down and curves, and it has a beautiful kind of fall off radius here, which is really beautiful. What we did and we decided to do is kind of inspired by that green reference prior, is that to add more mass, to create more of a point, a sharper edge, and then bring it in negatively. So it's like cuts the air almost more like an arrow. So taking this line and kind of straightening it, adding mass to it. And then not only that, but we step out the splitter that's built into it. We step that out further in 3 different steps. And that kind of gave us this flowing quality that we ended up bringing into the rest of the designs. Again, inspired by that Carrera electronic concept, that front inlet, but combining that with the green reference and then making it our own by adding in some GT3 RS stuff as well. And then another thing that we did that was just kind of significant is we changed the actual fender line and kept that pinch line, which is iconic to Porsche. When you lose this pinch line, it doesn't feel right. We've seen cars where they remove that and it feels really weird because it just kind of falls into a nebulous blob of curvature. And I think the beautiful thing about Porsches is it goes sharp to smooth and beautiful harmony. And that's really important to have. Another thing that you kind of mentioned is we wanted to find a really fun way to create a new language for the inlet. Again, these are like kind of simple things, but the simplest designs are often the hardest ones to achieve, because if something looks simple, but it feels good, that means the designer did their job, because you just feel the thought and impact of it, rather than, well, what about this or what about that, and so on and so forth. So to us, we wanted to try and find a way to create the speed line, create the soft curvature, match the radiuses, create that flow. And you'll see it once we get into dimensions, once we start to show the CGI stuff, you can kind of see it dimensionalized. But that was really important. You want to talk a bit about the rear or any of these other features?
Yeah, so many things is happening on the back. I think it's gonna be easier once in CG, but it's true. On the back, we have so many layers, and also is connected with the front. In the front, we have layers over layer. on the open mouth with all the intakes. And we wanted to replicate that on the back too, to have massive space for the rear wheel, also the diffuser. So in order to do that, we play with a lot of layers, and obviously taking from the latest RSR the GT3 RS, which give us so many different clues to how to approach the rear bumper. But still, at least for me, I didn't want to look that much, because you get influenced so deeply, and then you ended up doing exactly the same thing. So here it was more like a blank canvas. Both of us figured out a way to implement the connection between the front and the back and the aggressive, and bring something clean at the same time. I think it's gonna be easier once we have the CG, but that basically that tilted line give us that speed what we wanted. At the same time, also the diffuser give us that kind of a lifted area. If you look back here, you see this kind of a black line body. That's the old one. So that's for it was really important to lift it up. Like your body's up and ready to run. And something happened here with the Porsche. The bumper is so low, it feels like a little bit buggy. So we want to change that, and it was immediately a success. Yeah, that's how it works. And maybe because our taste is really similar, and we love when we remove stuff.
Yeah.
So we went to actually the first idea was just remove the entire back, just leave it open. But the more we think about it, we realize, all right, we need to bring something serious here and change. And that was our way to simplify and make the car on the back lighter, make the diffuser really present, also the wheels really visible on the back.
Yeah, we added stuff to the front and we removed stuff from the rear. You said it perfectly. I think the original line kind of just felt like a bug, or it just kind of fell into like blobby land. And so sharpening it up and then kind of creating a crispness to it in the rear, that kind of gave it the same look and feel that we were after in the front. And again, as we go and expose it in the CGI, you'll see kind of what we were doing and how we were doing it. But yeah, again, just adding sharpness to the lines and creating some good harmony there, so that things kind of blend and flow and have a good sense of themselves. That's really the key, because if you don't have that, then it's kind of sitting on non-harmoniously. Again, as I mentioned too, we don't do this while we design. We kind of do it, but we do it literally from this sketch. We start to go in there and start tearing at it in CGI. We don't work dimensionally. Like, I think the reason why we probably don't work this way is because we then would get stuck in being prescriptive. In the traditional sense of designers, as I understand it in the automotive and just in the spaces, there's different facets or people doing different things in different roles. We kind of blend over to all of them simply because we don't have a team. It's just Carlos and I. So 2D designer has to be 3D designer, has to be renderer, has to be photographer. So we kind of meld them all together. And so that's really key in the approach. But it is really important to always start with a two-dimensional conversation. If you don't have that and you go straight into CGI, you could miss some happy accidents and things like that. Because this is the first time we're kind of seeing these things and going, oh, okay, yeah, that's right, we did that. I didn't really think about it like that when we were doing it. I think I just would remember the notes here. Let's pinch that line. Let's start from that. Let's go off this reference. Let's look at that. So it kind of takes form now. And so it's almost like an unfair advantage. Like, it's like time warping to go like, oh yeah, we're here and then there. And I just want to make sure it's clear that when we design, we don't necessarily do this. And I think it's because the prescriptive nature of this, you might get like, oh, I'm stuck, I have to do it this way. And you could get lost between the CGI translation and end up with something that doesn't really respect the other world potentially. Yeah.
Yeah, totally, man. I think we try to find the right compromise, speed, performance, and the best result. Always going from A to B. Sometimes we go from A to C, and from there we jump really further, because this is basically our exercise for us.
Yep. Yeah, which is good. with all of our designs, whenever we do these things, wider is always better. So we almost always widen it. But a kind of interesting thing is if you look at the two versions of the cars, what we did is, if you look at the curvature on the front, this is a matching camera, so it's not completely isometric and locked in front. So if you look at the curvature, it's just a nice soft curvature on the stock car. And then if you look here, you can see it's a nice soft curve, and then it slightly comes out and protrudes. And we mentioned this earlier, it's so easy to get this wrong. It's actually one of the hardest parts of this and like the headlight eye version and a couple other things. The rear hips are also extremely hard, and we'll talk a bit about that. But this is a really important part where you can really lose the sauce and kind of get lost in like not feeling like a Porsche, or feeling like a Porsche that's just not well conceived. So that's something that we really pushed hard for. And again, kind of matching the rhythm and recipe of modern Porsche is like, let's keep the greenhouse as it is, and then let's slowly add the sauce as we go lower, and let's get crazier. So look how much we disregarded the whole entire front bumper. We basically completely just threw it out and said, if we were just to do our own, what would this look like? How would it look? And how could we actually add our own feel to it, our own taste and style to it? Again, we're not, having to deal with, safety and all these kind of things. And also modern technology, the lights in the back of the day, probably not you could probably get that same intention off of a smaller footprint on the front of the bumper, so you can eliminate these larger pieces as well. So these are just, concepts and things. You want to talk a bit about the front?
Yeah, something like I love to see in the Porsche where they do this kind of a front bumper. I think in this version it's kind of subtle, maybe too bubble-ish. Something like I don't really feel like it's fitting well on the car, because you have a mix of this where this area is nowhere, and then some beautiful sharp lines here and there, which is amazing. But then in this part where it feels like I protrude outside, try to wrap up the lights, doesn't make sense that much. So I love the fact that it feels like they're going in that direction, but not really confident. But we want to just enhance that part, where the front bumper goes a little bit further and sharper, enhancing that part. And I love that intention.
Yeah, smoothing things out, creating a new language. Also, when the stock car comes and it goes up and out, we went the opposite way. We went down and out. So we changed the direction, the thematic direction, basically, of the car. We didn't want to go in, we went out. And it was varying degrees as well, which is kind of interesting. In the beginning, or in the intro, we have more aggressive lines that actually, if you were to take this line and then invert it up and down, you would kind of match the angle of the hood line, right? So you're kind of creating a mirror split by the bumper line, and then you're breathing that out, and you're going, if you look at the center of the light, you see how that line goes right off to there as well. These aren't just by accident. We're trying to mirror hidden ratios, and that's what makes this really good. And that's what we're trying to do, is create these hidden ratios. So you see the grid dynamically, but we don't show you the grid necessarily. And that's what creates harmony in design, is again, the potential consideration. So when we build these out, we're thinking about those things. Okay, how does this look? How does that look? How does this blend to the iconic hood line? Okay, and then it's just taking that and iterating on it as much as possible, and then coming up with the best potential solution to that, and harmony. Yeah.
Also, what it helps a lot is working in tandem, both of us, because sometimes we know we got it already embedded on us. What is the intention? We don't know why, but it works. So you're already just applying it. But sometimes when you hit the wall and you don't know why, the other person on the other side is going to tell you, oh, maybe because this and this and that, and then unlock new things. As you mentioned, the lights, is this kind of a grid is there. But if you're not aware, maybe you are missed that. And maybe you're playing with something around the bumper, doesn't match that line, and you're already off of, why it doesn't work? Because this small intention is there. I mean, Porsche does it really well. It's just everywhere. It's there.
Yeah, they're truly incredible. And again, we know that we're just kids playing in their pond, so we appreciate Yeah, we love it that we're just having fun and
Yeah.
you know, simply just loving this. If you think about it, if you followed what we've done, look at the Brawler and the Terra and look at the shift that's happened in the 4 years. This is really the destination that we're after, right? It's like exposing the things that we love, the design aspects of things, learning how to design, learning how to push ourselves, evolving our taste and style, evolving our craft. And that's why we wanted to do this episode, is like spotlighting these growth curves and these adjustments and things that we've done, because we're proud of it and we're really excited to share it. And it's kind of a milestone for us. I wouldn't say kind of, it is a milestone for us. The RXR is like literally the best thing that we've made, and that's the best of our abilities combined. And it's really cool. It's really exciting.
Yeah, it is, man. I'm nervous actually just talking about this.
What, the rear?
No, I mean the overall project. I feel nervous, but
Yeah, it's awesome.
yeah, excited about this new chapter. Also, it's been a while. You know, we were working on this one intensely for months. So
Yeah.
it's about time to drop it and keep working some secret sauce we have in the
Always get
in
the
the hard
secret
drive.
sauce.
Yeah,
A secret hard drive sauce. We should
Yeah.
talk a little bit about the rear. Again, our formula is always widening things out, expanding. But, you know, if you go too wide with this, then you enter this weird thing where this looks like a weird shelf. So it's like, but you also don't want to go too narrow where it doesn't look like you did anything. So we found that the perfect spot was right around this area, which is probably equivalent to like 2 to 2.5 inches wider on both sides. So an overall 5-inch width, which establishes a deeper tread, and all these like contact patch for the car and all these kind of things. Another thing that I would like to add to it, and one of my favorite things about the rear is, again, because we have the benefit of looking at the 997 through the eyes of 2025, the formula in which Porsche runs now, which is very significant, is creating these negative shapes and then also these pinch lines that eventually fall off into curvature, and that kind of secondary belt line that creates this sharpness through the car. And rewriting the rules from there on down, we've completely removed, again, just like we did the front, we disregarded everything that was done on it prior, came up with our own solution, used the future forms, and then created our own path through that. Because again, you could easily get lost in it. Oh yeah, let me just take, as we mentioned, let's take the GT3 RS and then just apply that formula. Sure, you could do that, but it would just look like some sort of odd GT3 RS hodgepodge of a 997, rather than let's think about this deeper and think about it more holistically and then evolve that design. Yeah, so it's really fun.
really challenging, man. It's something like on the front happened really quickly. Just all right, we want this. It's gonna everything comes together really quickly for us. There's kind of a following different proportion. Everything is aligned. Yeah, that's the go. On the back though, it was a little bit more tricky finding the nuance and connection between all the lines, and it was really tricky because actually I remember when we went straight away to the race spec with the track version, it was easier for us just remove the entire back and leave it open. But for the street version, we had to cover, making a little bit more elegant in some ways on the back. So it was a sort of a discovery how to pull all together. So we knew we love this kind of intake on the back right there. We love this kind of a fading of lines, sharp lines, and appear again, and wrapping the rear of the wheels. And that's a winner. Where we go from here. And that's the starting point of conversation. And we start to now, all right, let's think about the diffuser. So if we have the diffuser, it's going to be easier to figure out what is between the up bumper and diffuser, and discovering what kind of line is connecting with what and how we can make a connection. And that take us quite weeks and days going back and forth between both of us. And we found sort of a click where everything is almost connected somehow, from the diffuser transition to upright on the front bumper.
Yeah, it was a bit of a discovery. I think why the front works so well is because we had significantly strong references that we loved. And I think a lot of it came from that Carrera electric concept. So that was like, oh yeah, we want that, but here, and then our own version. So we had the reference. Whereas the rear, it was more challenging because we didn't have the reference that we loved. We had examples of it from various versions of the cars, but we realized that we would have to discover it. And then through that discovery, there was a lot of give and take. The reason why I think the race spec worked, and we'll get into the race spec, is because we just removed all of this stuff. And when you remove it, it's just always a solution, right? Especially with race cars. Like I love removing panels because I want to see inside the race car, because that's what makes the race car cool. And so I think that was why the struggle was there. But yeah, and it's cool to see it, because this is, again, we have two specs of the RXR. We have the street and the race spec of it. And right now you haven't seen the track spec, but we have the difference between the stock car and then this. What would be an amazing exercise, because hopefully the goal is that this gets made. If you're watching this, you know somebody that wants to make this or can make this, they can reach out to us. Our whole goal with all of our cars is to make them in real life, because that's awesome. And we also want to see it, and we know that this could be great. But imagine having a scan, a one-to-one scan of a 997, and then for us to actually do this onto the 997 and then do a one-to-one on that. Then we would really truly see where our lines match. We would have to change the design, obviously, in certain areas based on tolerances, and we cut into certain things a little bit, but that would be really fun, because I feel it's unfair for us to use this like subpar model and then kind of blend our somewhat CAD perfect lines and models on it. Yeah. But the rear was a challenge for sure, especially for the street spec. Yeah.
I have to say, also I remember I was comparing this diffuser from the GT3 RS, and our diffuser is huge, even though it looks kind of okay. And that, I think, it speaks well about our design, because it looks kind of integrated. It doesn't look a massive, crazy diffuser, which is great. I think I don't know. I feel weird now praising myself about both of us talking about, well, we did it well, the diffuser.
Yeah, it's true. That's all our subject. It's unquantifiable. You just feel confident about it. That's okay.
I feel really excited about talking about that solution. We took a while, and we figured out the best way possible, and I think it's working really well.
Yeah, it's just because it ripples out in the echo of the design too. If it was isolated and just sitting there and a lot of negative space around it, I think it would basically eat it up, and then it would feel huge. But by creating these supporting members of repeating rippling design lines, I think that's really what works. Again, designs in automotive, in my opinion, it's all about repetition of true form and then evolving those forms into ratios that are all harmonious. If you don't have those things, then you're just going to have a discombobulated mess. And you see that with cars that don't really resonate or don't have shelf life. They just look and feel like something that was considered but just didn't follow through or whatever. So yeah, we tried our best here to do that. And again, we are just playing and exposing and thinking, and this is the first big step in that direction. One of the things we should definitely talk about is our third partner on this project, which is an incredible CGI 3D modeler. His name is Woofy. We found him, I think I was looking on assets for random things on CG Trader, which I often do, and I stumbled on this awesome truck that he did. And I was really inspired, obviously, and I sent it to Carlos, and I was like, Dan, check this out. And he just did this one as well. This is his username on CG Trader. He's awesome to work with, and we should talk a bit about our process, why we brought on a partner for this, how we work with our partners, and really kind of the goals and ideas, because it takes tremendous time, effort, energy, consideration to do these things. And some of this stuff is extremely labor intensive, and certain people are designed to do certain things better than others. I truly feel that way. Seeing people just have a knack for unwrapping certain tasks, whereas other people don't. But yeah, so do you want to add something to that?
Yeah, definitely. Shout out to Woofy. It was amazing to work with. Super friendly, efficient, and the 3D model, it was incredible. And we are so lucky to found this guy and working with him. It was great. Thank you, Woofy, Thank you.
Yeah, man. Yeah, like a serious member of the team.
Yeah.
Woofy was incredible at dealing with being patient with us and our insane notes and our insane requests. So one of the things is we knew that we wanted to do a lot of the project in CAD, but we didn't want to necessarily do the entire body because A-class CAD soft curvature Porsche level stuff is truly next level. So what we thought we would do is we would kind of blend that CAD based on natural cuts through a really clean polygonal version of the body. And that's what Woofy did. Woofy basically took our notes and inspiration and the reference and key models and splines. And we gave him so much stuff.
Yeah, also the low poly version as well as a guideline as well. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. We gave him the low poly, yeah, exactly. And then he remodeled like the windows and the mirrors and the lights and everything basically on the exterior. So like the side skirt and the door, because our door, although we respect the natural curvature of the line, we cut into the door to create more drama for the waterfall as well. So Woofy did the front bumper, the front fenders, the hood, the greenhouse, the glass on the outside, the door, the side skirt, which turns into the rear hips, and the rear bumper. And then the rest of it was done by Carlos and I, which is like the inside stuff or the wing or the front bumper details and stuff. And you can kind of see us testing different design lines and kind of showing how it breaks into the form and drawing and talking about it and conceptualizing. I mean, there's no shortage of references for the Porsche, which is incredible too. And so we have just a ton of reference and drawings. And this is just like a little look at it, like talking about seam lines and like it needs to be curved, not like a chamfer. And it was, I don't know how many revisions, and bless Woofy for his patience because him dealing with us in our extreme needs for the highest quality was incredible, and he hung in there with us.
But thankfully he delivered, and we were in awe about the quality, and that's one of the reasons we pushed really hard on the project, because the actual exterior shell, it was perfect. And we felt like this is something really special to work with. And I'm pretty sure it happened to you guys, when you have a model where it looks so good, you just want to make renders, work on it, because it looks amazing. And Woofy here delivered an amazing surfaces on the poly model. And immediately we felt really inspired to do a lot of stuff. And we did.
Yep. He gave us an incredible base. So as it kind of works, so if we kind of go and explain it, is Carlos and I have our original Incept idea call, which is all the ingredients. We work roughly. And then we kind of sketch out ideas further and kind of block everything out. Then we discovered Woofy and we were like, hey, you want to come and dance with us? We have the sketches. These are like the original sketches. We had the original model. We had the splines. And then we probably did, I would imagine, I think like 7 or 8 rounds of back and forth until we got to the right place. And that was a total of about a month and a half or so. He was, we were all just doing this out of passion and just the love of making these things. None of this is paying the bills. It's just us that were doing it and learning and growing from it and the camaraderie of it. I'm sure that he got better from dealing with us and then understanding how to do his thing, and then vice versa. So that was a whole process, and we really loved that. And from that process, we were able to kind of just go further and further and further and just dig in and go, to the end, basically. Mm-hmm. So that was one of the big steps in the process, which was having Woofy on, having him isolate onto those tasks, which are really challenging. And as you mentioned, like gave us a base that we could just go full power with, and it was really fun. And then Carlos and I basically looked at what he had made and said, okay, now we have a laundry list of things, and this is we can kind of see it here. It's like, we need to do fender liner, lights, front corner lights, wing, side vent, fuel cap, tire, turbofan, and it just adds on. And this is just a little bit of the things, right? It's like, now we have tow hook. Okay, what kind of hood pins? I have these on my 280Z, so what does the light look like? the inlet shapes and things like that. Do we modify the mirrors and the windshield wiper? It really just goes on and on. We probably post Woofy, we probably had like 25 things that were on our task to kind of execute, think about, consider, design, model, and flesh through. It's all those little things that you don't realize, but bless him. Look at this delicious poly sauce.
That apology, man. It's clean.
Apology is just so delicious.
Good start. Well, you see that on the... All right, that's a good start. All right, cool. Amazing.
Yep. Yeah. Super good. Yeah. Should we now kind of break into so as I mentioned, we had like 25 plus things, and I kind of mentioned some of the list, but we have some key features to the RXR that I think make it uniquely its own thing. You want to do a deep dive with me on that?
Yeah.
Or do you want to talk? Is there anything else you want to talk about with Woofy or anything?
No, man. Just shout out to Woofy. Thanks again, man. Amazing work, and looking forward to work with you again in some amazing project. Yeah. I wonder, should we show the car in CG or let's jump
we should.
to the... Yeah, right?
Yeah, we should. Yeah, let's do that. Yeah, good reminder.
Yeah.
Lead the way.
You lead the way.
Yeah. Well, we haven't really been talking about the race spec. We can probably do that in a bit, but yeah, you can kind of see from our screens. You want to go ahead and talk about it? We have the stock car and then the race spec.
Yeah. I would say if you open the stock model, it looks kind of a meh. It's something really funny, because if you see this car in real life, it looks amazing. It looks beautiful. But in CG, obviously, this stock model doesn't make justice. But what I'm trying to say is that it's a classic tendency for us to go wider and wider and crazy. Having this model, how much wide we can go? Yeah, we can go as wide as possible because it's going to look amazing. But we were contained and trying to doing the best version of this. And now showing both together, you can tell the intention. Focus now on the hips of the car and the width. To me, is the key point of the car. Keeping the same wheel distance and the way the surface flows through the body. To me, that is where our design shine. It goes wider, but not that much, just right enough. That reminds me something like I wanted to tell you about. I have these memories looking the Audi RS6. And when I saw it in real life, it blew my mind because it's so contained. It looks slightly different. Bigger wheels, it's a little bit wider, but not that much. Only if you know, you know. And I love that feeling of the Audi, and as well back the day with the M3, BMW, all this kind of era, where it's kind of a sleepers cars. Like, oh, what is that special? No, it's just slightly. I mean, obviously this car is way wider, but it's still kind of a decent look. It doesn't look like a steroids car with crazy amount of width. It's just the right amount.
Yeah, that was one of our things. We decided that we would maturely modify this thing and not go too crazy. OEM plus spec done the haste way. And that's really the key. That's what we were trying to do through this whole process, which is because, like you mentioned, we could easily just go crazy and turn it into a Frankenstein and go wild. We've done that in many of our projects. So we've already done it. So that's fine. We can move on to try different things. And if you look at the difference between the two, what's interesting is look at the mirror line, look at the hood line. We haven't really adjusted the height of the car down physically. What we have done is move the car down itself in the design. So lower the car down into itself. Again, when they're building cars and homologating them, they have to have them at a certain curb height for, everybody to drive it. But we're breaking the rules here, and so we can do that. But that was part of it, and also just kind of creating that sitting speed, and that same time of not modifying it too much. If you see them together, you obviously can tell that there's a difference. One of them is obviously modified and shifted from OEM. That's the goal, but not to the point where you don't recognize that it's a Porsche. And that was really through and through, that was really one of the things. And it's a wonderful process to go through to modify at a certain level of restraint. Oftentimes we kind of get completely lost in the sauce and, just kind of go crazy with things, and it's easy to do, but this was one of the things we wanted to really keep a mindful eye on, which is not changing it too much, just changing it just enough. I think another thing we did is that we were originally going to try and keep the line of the light as stock as possible, because we were going to make this car for real, and we still want to. But redesigning lights itself is really difficult to do. So we decided to kind of try and match that as best as possible, and create some curvature to it. But yeah, there's so much to talk to about all these different changes. As you mentioned, we've been on this project for such a long time. Yeah, and playing with it. And in our world, such a long time is months, whereas like real world car building is like a decade. Yeah.
Yeah, it feels like a decade though.
Yeah, well, yeah, we approach things quite differently than maybe the real world. Yeah.
Yeah, something here to me, again, coming back to the conversation of on the front bumper, this as well took us a while to figure out how much these highlights pick up from the bumper, that sharp line over there. You can go wrong really quickly with this one, and I feel like we really well play the balance between how sharp and how fade out, creating a nice sharp triangle over there. As I mentioned here, I feel if the intention is there, I think in reality is even more visible, but we want to enhance that part. And I think Porsche is doing this for a while now already. Maybe in ours even more, just going really further on the bumper, but give us the really feeling of speed on the car right there.
Yeah, all those little decisions, they all add up, and it gets to being really intense. Yeah, how far do we push it? How tight does it be at the radius on that? And these are all like a lot of, especially on the body, these are a lot of back and forth notes that we would have for Woofy as we were going through the process of building this out. But that was something I really appreciate. I think you turned this out really well and explained it, Carlos. So you kind of saw the potential of what this is, and then kind of really amped it up. It kind of speaking to the two minds on one task concept, two harmonious minds working on one task, no friction, just full goal. And even if we differentiate on little things, it's like, doesn't matter. It's like we keep moving forwards, and just really good. And then being able to solve it and see things objectively. Cause like, it was cool. I know there were some things that you were like, I didn't even know that or see that. And thank you. And then same for you as well. And then having Woofy implement those things is just fucking awesome. Super cool. Dream team stuff. Very thankful. Yeah,
totally. Another intention we had, it was maybe apply those amazing aerodynamics from the GT3 RS.
Yeah.
But we went for something cleaner. And maybe here I can show you on the plasticity side as well.
Yeah, let's see that.
And
so what, Carlos, you want to maybe, if somebody doesn't know what the difference between what we just did, and then kind of expose what it is that you're looking at now?
Yeah, this is a Woofy model. The exterior he delivered. We were super happy. And from here, I'm basically taking this import to plasticity. I use this as a base to build the next step for the project, which is basically figure out how it's going to look like the front bumper for the street version, the race version, the rear diffuser, and the rear bumper. And that's the start. And now I'm really proud and happy I'm using plasticity. So give me the option to make super clean surfaces in the super rapid way. And you might question, why not do the entire car in plasticity? Because I don't have yet the skills to make super A+ surface on the hips of the car. To me, this is really intimidating doing it in plasticity.
Yeah, it's a long, that's why, clean shape.
Yeah, this is really tricky.
You might be able to do it now that you have the perfect model to use as a base, but still, it's tangential math, perfect smooth CAD data is so difficult to do.
Yeah. I might be ready now, but I'm still not confident enough to endeavor this task. So that's why we are super grateful from you, Woofy. He delivered an amazing job.
Yeah.
And for us,
so
it
the
was
CAD blends into the poly models seamlessly.
exactly. And Plasticity does really well. What I show you right now, just using this poly model is there. You can touch it. You can just grab it with some snap as well, and it helps a lot. So from here, it was the exercise to fill the gaps, creating a new diffuser, the rear bumper connection, and this is something like a.
Laying
I'm
splines
really
out
excited.
and then
Yeah,
bridging splines to make solids and faces, and then those faces then get chamfered, and there you go. Yeah.
yeah. Also, at the same time, we have the sketch base and we know what we're doing. But as we get closer to the refinement, we are still able to work and we'll go back and forth because recreating these kind of surfaces is really quick and fast. So we were also discussing how much open this triangle goes, how much wider it goes, how much fillet and the softness, how it integrated with this. All this part of the conversation with both of us we are having, we just go back and forth. It's not that many we are going off because our taste is really similar, but it's true sometimes I go maybe too much or too quick. I'm missing some key point where Ash is able to say, hey, you know what? What about this? And every single time when Ash say, hey, what about this? I'm just, yes, yeah. I'm so
That's
glad you are
awesome.
here to point me all the things could be improved because we can do it because this is really easy to do.
Perfect teammates then, yeah, because it's the objectivity and the being able to see it from the outside looking in, and combining these things is just really great. I just love all these details. These are the CAD based details that you can only get truly these perfect chamfers and flows and stuff to the lines. It's really, 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 really hard to do this in polygonal modeling at that level, and so it's just super cool. And again, an evolution, as I mentioned, like if you look at the Brawler in comparison to the to this, or the Terra compared to this, obviously different timelines, different skill sets, different tools, but at the same time, it's an evolution. And hopefully this inspires you all as you're going through your own journey and learning new tools and different things, that this gives you some sort of inspiration, we hope, which is key.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, it's really cool. Love it. So all these shapes and everything coming off the original designs and drawings, and then evolving it, manifesting it, refining it, taking it to the next level. I mean, I know we sat there and we did with Whiffy, we did the side skirts. I mean, I don't know how many times the waterfall to side skirt to pinch, and then we discovered this line. It's like, I can go in. Ooh, that's cool. And then like, that goes in, and this pulls down in here, and then that goes to that, and you're just like finding the contours. What if that pulls in there and that goes to that? And, all of these things as things transfer over, it's so cool, so fun to see. And then I was like, those were certain things that we were doing that kind of evolved and showed themselves. We didn't have this in the sketch, and this is why we don't prescribe only to do the 2D sketch, because the 2D sketch you can miss these things that happen in the process of doing this part too, which is exploring and discovering. One of my favorite things, as Carlos knows, is I love laying splines out, because then I'm like, I'm dimensionally seeing the drawing, which is really cool. And then those master splines can get transferred into faces and polygonal shapes, and then you can kind of see that. Or in reference to CAD, those faces and splines connect as well and become solids, which is awesome as well. And then it just takes form, and then you just keep going and keep going.
Yeah, man. Yeah, totally. I think also something I want to show you guys is small details, but I love this. And again, it's coming back to the conversation where you are just doing it because it makes sense in your brain. You're not even consider that details. And to me, it's the front splitter, the front bumper, where these small details right there is connected also with the lines of the hood, which is opening up. It's just small details. I don't think any render show this, kind of a shame.
Yeah.
That's why I'm taking the opportunity to say, hey, guys, we are doing this too. It's on the viewport.
Look at us.
Yeah, look at this. But I love this kind of intention where these lines open up following the hood, creating this kind of aggressive open mouth, which is really cool. At the same time, also that one as well. Everything kind of follows an open. At the same time, it's applied to inward, outward, open, and close. It's really cool.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, lots of little things, lots of little decisions. And sometimes if we don't have these views, we can, like Carlos was mentioning, like we can go, oh, what about this or what about that? And just make a quick sketch and a quick drawing. And it can evolve. Even when I see this now, I'm like, oh, we could do this, we could do that, we could change that, we could add that. And it's never ending. That's when it makes it really fun. It's like true art's never done. It's just kind of, I think we're due to finish it and get it out, so, which is really fun. So yeah, such a cool process and such a fun process,
Yeah.
We should maybe talk about, so we're going to break down some of the main key elements to this. We did a real deep dive into the lights, front and rear on the car, because you can't just do the front without the rear. And we have a seat that we want to talk about as well. Maybe we can talk about some of the first ideas with this. Remember, we had like an X on the light as a quick sketch. And then Carlos and I were going back and forth and exploring other shapes, an X or a plus or multiple pluses or four lines vertical, 4 lines horizontal. And then I think we realized this was the look that we were after, right?
Yeah, it's really cool because even though we knew it's going to be something special to discuss and evolve the headlights and taillights, we never get locked in the first week. We let it open to see how the car evolve. Maybe it's going to give us the option, going to tell us, all right, I need these eyes. So we leave it open. And so we start to making IPR, apply materials, the car looks like this. Oh, what about this? What about that? And then immediately click, all right, just 2 bars. And it clicked so well on the car. It fits so well. We were so inspired by these small details. And then from here, spired out to craziness. Because as soon as you open the headlights, what is it going to look like? How is it going to function? What is going to look like this? What about this and that? So it evolves to another massive conversation. Please, man, what is this? Tell us.
Yeah, well, again, as you mentioned, it's like what was kind of fun is we left the lights to be sorted once we understood what the body looked like, which again is kind of like understanding your steps in the game. Sometimes you want to start that first, but again, it's details, right? So as we talked about, it's big, medium, small. You don't work small, medium, big, because then you get blind and then things don't become cohesive. So I think we realized that. And then the moment we looked at the RXR race spec, we realized, oh yeah, it's going to be 2 in the front and then 4 in the rear. And it'll be sick because it'll sit there and kind of float like like the eyes of a skull, but an alien skull kind of thing. And instantly again, this is like just so simple, but it's so important through the process to sketch and apply and evolve and discover through the process. And that's been really something we were doing. And, a lot of this is really fun. It's just like these really loose sketches. If you've seen our Celica build, which is we took a Celica and redid our complete iteration, we did this really fun steering wheel together and we did some lights together, which were really fun. And it was the same process, which is like these really rough sketches that then get blocked out in Cinema 4D or go into CAD. And then it's just like here to here looks like it's really huge, but it is, but it's also quite a rapid process that kind of gets to this final form, which is really fun. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about that transfer?
Yeah, that transfer is funny, man, because something, again, coming back to the tool, I think working plasticity give us so much power. You have to be really careful when you apply details in some sketch. When we talk about these kind of modular lights where you can implement and you can apply this light to any car or any holes. Sounds really bad now. So these object, you can implement now some logic, some technological functionality on this object, and you can go wild. First, you can go crazy about the details, and second, you can lose the scale. That's also really problematic when you're adding details. So that, to me, doing this exercise was key. I think we talk about this, right, with the nuts. So right, what is the scale of this? Man, I don't know. 3 millimeters. How big is this? And I remember I went back after a few days of work. I went back and started from scratch because I'd add so much details. I lost the track of what it's all about. I think, it's about the lights. No, it's about the car. So how can I play with this kind of a duality? We need to bring reality, but at the same time, some logical aspect of design and not going too crazy. So that's basically where everything starts to click and start from scratch and super clean. And it was pretty much straightforward. Both of us talking about the design reference and all that, and it clicked immediately. I think it was 1 day or 2 days of work, and we got it.
Yeah, it was just what happens when we're completely unbridled and we can just go and do random things. And you just did when you went into plasticity. So plasticity is wonderful. It's kind of like if you've ever used CAD or Adobe Illustrator or vector-based programs or Fusion 360. It's fantastic because you can just dive into explorations, and what you just explained is a perfect pitfall with a lot of these things. You can lose sense of scale really quickly. It's kind of like when I was doing the suspension and the whole front chassis for the Rosa project, the Ferrari Testarossa. I had to start with hardware based on real world spec. And I'm so thankful because right now I'm like completely obsessed with my 280Z build. And so I spend so much time looking at hardware and understanding all of it. So understanding the world spec and understanding the size and then applying that size globally is really key because you can easily get lost in the sauce. And what was really fun is you'd go down these deep tangents. If you're not aware, Carlos lives in Spain. I live in California. So we have an 8 to 9 hour difference often. And that difference is one of us is usually sleeping and one of us is waking, working. And so when we wake up, so I remember it was like, oh, this is so cool. And then we would sketch and draw and talk and then pass things back and forth and then show references and then basically continue through the process. And it was just so fun. You have like this heat seeking core and like this plus pattern was something that came from the design ethos from the modular light that we made for the Zelica project as well. So it all kind of ties together. And what we're hoping is when you see this stuff, you go like, oh, this is Ash and Carlos, this is the Haste guys doing their thing.
Yeah. Well, now I can apply some self-deprecate vibe here. I would say something like I'm really insecure. I don't know anything about technology or how these kind of lights will work, but I'm trying really hard to pretending it feels realistic enough. I'm pretty sure some guys out there, engineering or some high knowledgeable, they will say that's bullshit.
Sure,
That's not
it's conceptual.
Yeah, that's not how it works. But hey, that's basically our exercise of visualization and ideas and design. It's not based on technical application.
Yeah. We're completely doing conceptualized stuff. So I'm sure it's clear at this point to anybody. And right. Of course, also I know this about like professional automotive designers that work in the space. They're constantly going head to head with the engineers. That's just a part of the dynamic. It's not like one knows more than the other or is better than the other. It's just simply that's just when art meets the real world is when the engineer and the artist designer clash, and that's beautiful. It's a beautiful thing. We don't have the engineer side of it. We're just us playing and having fun. What confuses people is it looks so real, and that's our job. It's to make it look real. And that's another part of it, which we'll get into later down. But yeah, you can see in Carlos is showing inside the viewport, seeing how the light sits in there. That was like one of the key goals, right? It's like it just like plugs into an OEM harness it has this like nice strong structure, and it has a unit of itself, and then it just floats there in a shroud of mechanics. Cool. So CGI sci-fi goodness.
Yeah, but it's so funny. As soon as I remove everything from the headlights, and I just kept the shell from outside. I don't know exactly what I'm doing, what I'm removing off, but it looks already so technological. Even is kind of reality. It's actual headlights from Porsche, but just removing the right pieces here and there, it looks quite sci-fi. But at the same time, on the render, it's not visible. It's just black thin. The only thing you see is just the two bars. But if you look closely, depending on the light, you will be able to see some details, which is really key. Otherwise, it looks kind of an empty fake. So that was something like we discovered through the renders. And that's why we go to the render IPR modeling stage always is super fluid, because what it tells you on the IPR is not going to tell you in the viewport. What it tells you in the viewport is not going to tell you on the IPR. So this kind of a play is really important as well.
Yeah, it's always constantly lying to you. Yeah, because one world doesn't show you the other world. It just shows you another vantage point of a world. Yeah, and being able to see it accurately is really tricky.
Yeah.
The rear is awesome too, and we can talk about that too, is that the street spec has the actual cover, and then the race spec does not. And that was a whole challenge in and of itself too, which was, what does the shroud look like? How far do we go down this rabbit hole? You want to talk a bit about that? We're looking now at the race spec version of the rear light.
Yeah, it was massive. If you remember, we were back and forth trying to figure out the best way to put this same object from the front and the back.
Yeah.
And it didn't click immediately, because you have a massive hole, and we wanted this. We want kind of empty inside, and unfortunately, this taillight doesn't have any depth. It's just basically LEDs floating on the super thin surfaces in the original one. If I can show you now the stock version, it's just that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So coming from here to there, it was a massive journey. It took us quite a few days to figure out ways to implement that. And to me, the key point on this designing solution, it was this belt line on
continuing it.
Yeah, exactly. So I continue that line overall, and we found, all right, that could be a base. And from there, you can build up what is.
You found that. How did you find that? Did you just block off some stuff, or did you sketch it while I was sleeping, or how did you solve that?
I found it in reference. This is nothing that I'm doing something new. I think Porsche has been doing this for a while. In some option, I think the original version, actually here you see that line is there, and then go up.
Yeah.
So that is there.
Yeah.
So
Instead of going up and out, you went up and in to the body, kind of matching the window lines too.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it's a late discover, but I realized really late, like, oh, damn it, it was there all the time. I need to just add in that line, and that could be the base from the support for the lights.
Yeah, I love it. I love how you continued that. Again, kind of talking about the invisible line. So you see how instead of the stock one goes at the end, it follows the belt line and then goes out, which feels more like an off version of one of these lines, which makes it look weird, if I'm being honest. But by doing it like this, you're matching the line of the window. And when you look at it dynamically with perspective, it's constantly doing that. So when you look at it, you're like, oh, you see that through there. It makes sense. It's all kind of connecting and like leading together, which is awesome, right? Again, we talked about like echoes of design, echoes of ratios, things flowing out from one another, having a master line, and then everything kind of echoing and rippling out from that master line is really key. Because I think it wouldn't look as good if you had brought this line and matched what Porsche did with the 997 going outwards. I don't think it would look as aggressive, but I'm biased, obviously. But I think that's really good to add to, and these negative shapes and inverting that, and
something really key for us as well is keeping the continuity and integration with these new object on the Porsche, also the actual cover from the object. So the gap and the hole over there is constantly over there, just everywhere. On the side view, you see there that connection is a kind of two lines and gap and holes. Everything follows a one line at the same time on the back. And also, once you see the overall view three-dimensionally, we have some reference about Aston Martin and the way they pull out the taillights. It's also beautiful, a massive reference for us. Am I able to pull out some reference now in the video? But I love this kind of a reference where you see floating outside
the Valkyrie
the body.
or something. Not the Valkyrie, but one of the V names.
I think the Valkyrie, one of them. Yeah.
Yeah. The lights where it's like all protruding out in little like lightsabers or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And key as well. In some angles, you're going to be able to
be able to
see this kind of a shooting out thin.
Yeah. What's cool is that the aerodynamics has already done its job, so it can come around this and not create too much turbulence by having this negative cavity, which is fun. Well, at least that's what it seems like. Adrian knew you probably say otherwise, but you know, I mean, I just love these different vantage points. You know, look at the curvature, everything kind of fitting, and these little pieces that like these jutting out shapes and forms. We knew that there was going to be red light coming out of here, so it'd be nice, and it would have like these cuts and forms. You could, the fun thing about this car too is we really tried to do a 360 on it. You can't go underneath it, obviously, but everything from the top up is like you have access to everything. You can take photos and images and renders of every angle you want, and you have shapes within the shapes within the shapes within shapes, and all these beautiful aspects to it, which is really fun. And that was part of a real big part of the goal with that, and the rear light is to have that kind of way of seeing it. We have a bunch of renders. We can talk about that as well. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, man, because before jumping to the seat, I think we didn't show yet the actual race spec of the car completely.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, I will say on the front, the key difference is on the bumper, where everything feels floating, which is really cool, really wide open. And that reminds me one of those intentions back then when I was doing my Lancia Stratos. And I love this kind of approach where the bumper feels floating, and it's here again, and I love it.
Yeah, that's a part. I think that's one of you can kind of trace it back to all of your intentions with your designs too, which I love, is creating these floating spaces, like you did this on the McLaren MS60, I believe.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a bit of your design nod to this stuff. So I love that you brought that flavor into this as well, because it adds to that. The race spec had changed pretty much everything in a certain way, but all just incremental stuff. We kept most of the body stock. We did add the lower splitter section, and then the rear we just cut out that whole section, exposed the engine, and then an RSR kind of replica rear spoiler, our rear diffuser, and then the wing tying into the duckbill area, and then new mirrors, and the glass is different, new side mirrors. Pretty much everything changed in some way. We also have like the gas cap, which is really fun, little details up in the front. You know, one thing I think we didn't do that I would love to do at some point if and when we design this is to do a really big hole or like beefy holes inside the front hood. I think that'd be really fun. We kind of went somewhat tame in regards to street to spec to race spec, but also really fun though to do that. Yeah, put them all side by side here.
Good one. Yeah.
You can kind of see the difference. Mainly the bottom of the front, but the rest of it kind of changed and augmented slightly. Yeah. And I think that's Porsche's thing, right? It's like taking what's sharp and then making it sharper, but not changing the weapon for a hammer or something, you know? So you're still just sharpening a sword. You're not completely changing the methodology of it. Yeah.
Man, I would love to show as well the rear wing. I think both of us, we were back and forth and we found a solution. I remember back then you found a super clever way to implement the wing on the back, and it took a while, but I'm so grateful and so thankful. But you were there just, hey, Carlo, what about this and that? And always you hit the right mark. All right, this is it. And it looks so good. I think because you were super aware about the functionality and the obviously inspiration from BBI, the way they approached the aerodynamics. So it was for us inspiration and the North Star to follow what is the actual look of the rear wing. Just just so cool to see this.
Yeah, the functionality of it. And again, we're using BBI as a main launching place when it comes to the uprights and the wing and the inspiration from that, you know. And I would love at some point, again, when we hopefully make this and bring this to life, do legitimate CFD and see how this works. And do we want the width to be this way? Can the angle shift? What does that do? Does it unsettle the rear under a certain pressure load or whatever? It's just so fun, you know. I'm looking forward to those kind of conversations and things down the road, hopefully when we make this possible. Because again, as we mentioned, our goal is to make all of our cars possible and all potential realities too, and being able to kind of see them all together would be amazing. But yeah, I mean, we changed the race spec. Is everything has changed in some little degree. I would say things that didn't change was door. We didn't change the width, which is also really fun. Mm-hmm. That just goes to show you the race spec has the sense. It just doesn't have the aero complement to it, which again is kind of on brand with Porsche's approach with what they do and how they do their things. So we kept it all kind of somewhat tied together, and just complemented the street spec with new weapons basically tied to it. So which is really fun. Yeah, and you can see it's quite a chunky babe. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say also because the wheels, they are chunky wheels.
Yeah, the wheels obviously do so much.
Yeah. So I think it's time to talk about the seat.
Yeah, we're going to continue going down the chaos of madness, the spiral of madness. Why did we decide to do a seat? Why don't you talk about that?
I remember the conversation. I don't like the word blame. It's too hard. But you sparked the conversation. Hey, what about the seat? And obviously, I'm behind of you. I just yeah. What about the seat? Yeah. What is Hold on.
Why? Why did we decide to do a seat?
I don't know. I don't remember. So I just follow you.
Oh man,
we were a classic situation where we're having a call and then having fun talking about whatever random thing.
Yeah, as we do.
Yeah, and then somehow, some reason, we start to talk. Hey, if we do a seat, and we fantasize of it should be okay. Maybe a few days of work and we have a special seat. At the same time, we say it. We know it's not true. It's not going to be done in 3-4 days.
Yeah. Well, at this level, yeah. Well, okay. So I think we realized you were doing some interior renders, and I was like, oh my God, looks incredible. It was kind of matching when we did the McLaren project together. You were doing those interior renders of the McLaren that we were working on. It was just incredible. And a lot of OEMs do it as well. And we thought, oh, this is fantastic. And I think I'm also in the middle of trying to design seats for my 280Z. So it probably just bled right into this. I think that's probably it.
That's it.
The 280Z is to blame. Yeah. Yeah. And I think we were looking at this, and then we were also looking at like the beautiful seats that Porsche makes for these cars, and then the aftermarket for them as well. And I think we just got inspired. And by looking at these things, I think we had the model, and then I believe I just threw it into the IPR, rendered it really quickly. And while you were sleeping, I was like, just started drawing holes and shifting things and changing things just ever so slightly.
Yeah.
And then that's kind of the end of the story.
Yeah. The situation is this. I just wake up as usual, check the chat with you, and you say, hey, I got it. This and this and this. And immediately knew it. I knew it. Yeah. We are doing it. We are doing it. Yeah.
It's funny, Ilya and Nikita from Oil Stain Labs, they're twins that are designers, and they designed the Half 11, all these beautiful things. And I think it was funny when I met them. I think I had met them at a party, and their slogan for the party was like, I think it was like 5 years of bad ideas or something like that. And it's like, we're on 4 years of bad ideas, you know?
Yeah.
But if you're going to spend time doing something, might as well just make it fun, you know, make it enjoyable and make it a thing. Yeah.
I have to say, we were kind of joking about it. Mm-hmm. When I went to bed, I thought, all right, we talk about maybe making a seat. Let's see what happened. But the next morning you came out with these sketches. So in that point I knew, all right, it had to be done.
Yeah. Well, again, I think it's like the two of us, bad idea, then bad idea implemented, bad idea refined into a good idea. I think for me, I was just inspired by the idea of, I was thinking about like, I didn't look at it, but the seats in the Nostromo or like Sid Mead seats or, just interesting shapes and things that are cut through. Obviously, I'm not a seat manufacturer. I don't deal with safety laws and stuff, so I don't care. And that's fantastic. And that's what I do for a living when I conceptualize for films. I don't have to worry about those things, which makes it fun. And I was just trying to cut shapes in there. I think I took the back render, set the pen tool in Photoshop to symmetry, and I just was like jamming the
That's
music,
better.
drawing.
With the latest version of Photoshop, I think you have able to do the real-time mirror, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a powerful tool because you can instantly get feedback. I would be like, oh, do I want this to come out here? I want this to go there. And so automatically I changed the ratios. I cut this piece down. I shrunk this down. And then I started making like, oh, what if the seats actually had these like interesting perforated like cuts in them to create this interesting kind of give and take to the patterns of the seat as well. And again, when you're in this realm, you could do anything you want. So, yeah, and that transfers over to like you want to talk about this, like the basic blocking inside of a poly modeling software.
This is one of those projects where we have a lot of fun both together because we able to go back and forth, transfer the same file and tweaking in super low poly version, blocking it out what it could be the shape of it, and it's a really quick conversation and one call, an hour just doing this and that, and then next day I do my own thing, you do your own thing, and then once we are happy is when the fun starts. It's just going down with the rabbit hole of surfaces and plasticity, poly model, adding all the details. I
Yeah, you
was
took
really
it from here. I think I got busy
Yeah.
doing something else, and you were
Yeah.
just like became the seat man for like 2 weeks.
yeah, yeah,
And you didn't socialize, and you were completely isolated.
yeah. I went nuts. All right, I want to do for real a seat. Doesn't make any sense because you can design something with some functionality. On the seat, I'm no expert making seat. That's the first time I'm doing something like a seat based on this kind of a blocky design. And I was maybe too optimistic doing this, thinking, yeah, well, now with plasticity, I can do everything. Well, yes, you can do everything, but it
I
was
think you need
so
to
much.
have some of that, though. You have to have that blind courage in order to go and do something you've not done before.
Yeah, some stupidity. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, so you're in plasticity, you're looking at the file. So as I mentioned, I was like, oh, cool. I made a quick sketch and the poly model, we were playing with it. All right, I gotta go. Because also,
Do that.
yeah, it's also like there's a kind of a fun thing with collaborations, at least in our collaboration, is sometimes when somebody's doing the thing that they're really great at, I just like to get out of the way and be like, what can I do to support? Because if we were both doing this in real time, it would be a horrible nightmare. You need space to be meditative on your own to find solutions because it's so nuanced. We kind of found a way to do it when the steering wheel, but we kind of isolated and blocked those things in, whereas a seat is one shape and form, and you just went fucking crazy, which is awesome. I love it. And there's also the seat rails, it's just a whole nother thing. But yeah, let's talk. Why don't you give us a nice deep dive into this?
Yeah, I would say this is you wouldn't be able to do it without the trust because you do the sketch, but from the sketch to almost precision from CAD is a whole jump, right? We have the blocking, all that stuff, but in the end of the day, someone someone had to make this decision. So working with you, I feel the trust. Whatever I'm doing with the best intention, you're able to see it, give you some feedback, also leave me alone if I need it. And it's great because I can go really quick and really further and on the process, thinking I'm doing the right thing or the right decision. If I get stuck, I can show you. And actually, that's basically what I do, just showing the progress. So in some point, in any point, you can point in, hey, what about this? What about that? And actually, I think this seat, it happens a few times where I maybe, because different reason, I lost the point in some areas. And you were, hey, Carlos, what about this and that? And it was perfect feedback from, I remember back then it was the actual holes on the back.
Yeah.
Back then
I
it
try
was
to leave
too
you
sharp.
alone though. At some point, it's so
Yeah.
difficult. So I just kind of let you do your thing and just support you and like cheerlead to you. Yeah, keep going.
Yeah, I mean, to me, because you will get lost really quickly once you want to solve technical stuff, and you're
Yeah.
putting aside the aesthetic, so you get blind of it. So that's really good having a partner. You can check also not the technical part; it's just the aesthetic. If you get lost translation from the design, and I get lost. I get lost because solving all these shapes, it was a nightmare. All these beautiful lines, it's crazy to make it super clean but all connected, justifying all the surfaces over here. It just, I would say, took me a week to solve all this.
Yeah, you have it in you to do that. Yeah. I'd get so
But
impatient.
yeah, but that is not just enough, because once I solved the shell.
Shell. Yeah.
I remember you were showing me some reference about some semi-transparent object,
Yeah.
and it blew my mind. I was like, oh man, that could be really cool, adding some thickness on the shell of the seat. It's not just carbon fiber; it could be also transparent. But hey, hold on. If I add in transparent, what is going to be visible? What is going through the where the light is going through? So that's the next stage where I spend another 3 4 days solving the internal part, going to Cinema
Yeah.
4D, exporting my whips, messing around with the transparent material, and see how it reacts in materials. The way I see in IPR, all right, I think I need more thickness, and go back to plasticity and give it more thickness and play with different shapes on the seat, and then going back and forth, trying to find the right amount of thickness, the structure to look kind of realistic enough in terms of how it support all the nerves and the structure of the seat. And it was a journey, man. I
Yeah.
feel now kind of stupid explaining all this process, because
No, it's
I don't know
awesome.
even how that happened, man.
I think, yeah, if I can view it from the outside, you just kind of fixate on a task and then you execute at the highest level by just obsessing with it. And that obsession just kind of breeds and it keeps going and then you keep going and going. And yeah, the transparency, I think the transparency might have also, again, the 280Z is blending into this project, whether we like it or not. And Paul, a friend of mine from Son of Cobra, his car company builds these incredible 2002s and BMWs. He's working on an E9, but he made these velocity stacks for my 280Z, and they're this transparent resin that's beautiful. And I think that was one of the inspirations, that and just the xenomorph and all these kind of interesting things from sci-fi literature and cinema stuff. And then we also really love product photography that's done this way, and then beautiful products as well. So I think it all kind of tied together. Like, what if the seat looked like this? And it's like, well, I've never seen a seat like this, so let's do that. And then that was like one of the key inspirations, and understanding the thickness and depth of it to see through it was like a whole nother level, which is awesome. Yeah, you not only did you do that, but let's talk a little bit about the stitching. So when you did all the CAD, I was like, okay, well, let me help you with like the soft cushion and all that kind of stuff. And you're like, well, I think I want to do it like this. I want to do the cushion and polygonal modeling. And I was like, okay, cool. I can probably just do the stitches with ZBrush, because ZBrush has these really cool tools to do that. And then I think you're like, oh, let me try to solve this other thing. You want to talk about, you found this tutorial from this guy?
Yeah, shout out to Devasis,
Yeah.
the content creator. And I mean, there are so many ways to solve stitches in 3D, so many tools, so many different variation. And I've been working in CAD data for long, and one of the point always is back then. Nowadays, you have also CAD data with amazing beautiful, amazing stitches. But back then, it was one of the tasks you had to implement. It was the soft panels from the seats and the stitches, and based on my experience, it's always super challenging. And all what I want to do is just avoid so much work because stitches require a lot of effort to make it realistic. You can go from UVs, Sutas Painter, you can go ZBrush, you can do different technique in 3D Max or Cinema 4D. And after few hours of diving, I think this could be, for me, one of the best tutorials to make stitches. It requires quite a lot of preparation in terms of a poly model. The topology has to be precise for be able to create in this kind of stitches technique. But once you got this control in the topology, you are able to make basically realistic stitches like that. And I was so keen to make it like this.
Yeah, it's incredible.
Because I knew if the stitches doesn't hold up, I don't have any interior renders.
Yeah.
What's the point? Having a seat without realistic stitches? That's the way I see it. It kind of doesn't make any sense, but to me, it's like I have a car without the wheels.
Yeah.
So I have the interior without stitches, a Porsche. I want to do it. So it was that process.
Yeah.
But then I realized, you have stitches in your seat, but it looks so tight, so unrealistic, so CG. So I thought, all right, what I have to do now is making wrinkles on the leather.
You had to unwrap the polygonal piece as well, and then bring that all into Substance Painter, and then paint the wrinkles using height.
Yeah.
And
one of the
normal.
solutions you mentioned, it was maybe bring those poly model to ZBrush and making the wrinkles. That could be an option.
Yeah. But that's the polygons that are shifting, not the texture, which is a whole different thing. Yeah, because I was like, no problem. Just pass me the geo and I can go crazy, make the sketches. We just make it dense enough, and I could paint all that.
Yeah.
I think I was gone. I was in Croatia or something at that time. That's why I'm like, you went on a,
leave this guy
because I
alone.
wasn't near my computer. I couldn't help you. Yeah. So I was gone for like 2 weeks to Europe. That's why. Yeah. But you're just like, oh, I'm going to keep going. I'm like, wow, this is insane.
Yeah, it's true. I couldn't wait for you. Make the test on ZBrush.
Yeah.
Also, I knew maybe I can do UVs and then use it as a painter, making displacement in
What made you
Sutas
think of
Painter.
this route to do it over the other route?
Because one thing, in Sutas Painter, you can paint and quickly and test, exporting the displacement maps and test it out in IPR really quickly. If you don't like it, go back. Because as you know, creating wrinkles, you could have right, you could have wrong. It's really sensitive.
Yeah.
You can go over the top. And it actually was a process, a few days of looking reference, how much I can push the displacement and all that. And it turned out also another journey about the wrinkles.
It's so insane, dude.
I'm pretty sure some expert out there about leather.
Whatever.
They will be like, that's not how the leather express.
I'll tell that
how the
expert
wrinkle-"
try to do this in CGI, and then we can talk. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But it turned out super well, the workflow. It was immediate reaction, go back and forth, the feedback between IPR, exporting new texture from a Sutas Painter. It was so much fun. Like just painting wrinkles, how it looks. Oh, that's okay. Yeah, keep going, adding details. Yeah, it was amazing journey on this one. I would say 3 days of finding the nuance of the wrinkles here and there.
Also the perforated surface as well for breathable leather.
Oh,
This is what makes you the best in the world at this thing. I think your obsession, your ability to obsess and completely dive into a task and tunnel vision is a superpower. I know you have this in your personal life with paddle and tennis and cycling and all these different kind of things, and it's cool because it's really visible here, and it's also really transferable. Your efforts are transferred instantly to like, you obsessed about it, found the solution, and this is as real as it gets. We're not using AI. There's no prompts involved in anything you've seen today. Thank goodness. And it's all just good old fashioned hard work, analysis, observation, objectivity. Yeah, it's wonderful. It's really great. It's beautiful.
Sounds really old, man.
Commendable.
Like,
Nah, dude. You know, what do we do this so we could type some words in and try to get a thing? Nah, dude. Come on. This is a part of the process.
Are you using your brain? Are you using your actual hands? Doing
Lame. Old
Wow.
man. Yeah.
Crazy.
It's really
Yeah.
beautiful though. I really I love it. That makes sense now. I was like, where was I? How did you get away with doing this much stuff? You went crazy. And I love that you figured out that pipeline too. Again, in my mind, you know, everything's about a pipeline, a path. It's like a procedure. Okay, we go here and then go here and here and here. And then at the end of it, you're going to have this thing, hopefully. And my path was completely different from yours, but you taking the block, then unwrapping it using rhizome, and then going to Substance Painter, painting the displacement, exporting, plugging it into Corona, checking in IPR, pushing back and forth, and then building the base from that. That's probably such a smart path. It makes a lot of sense. It's easy for me to say that now, but when you were doing it, you're like, well, I don't know if it's going to work. I have to try it. And
exactly. I didn't know it's going to work. The amount of hours and days investing in the process where I didn't know it's going to work. It's not going to work the stitches, the topology, the displacement, UVs, and then making displacement. I was totally blind. I just, I'm going to try and see what happened. And it turned out really well, because one thing, I'm avoiding crazy amount of polygons. I'm using textures and displacement. So that's really good for Cinema 4D. As you know, I struggle with the amount of geometry.
Yeah, imagine that in dense hooked. It would die.
Another things I was scared of, it was the actual productivity working with you. In terms of
you know I'm a fancy boy. Yeah.
Creating a car and now doing interiors and now doing insane amount of details in the seat, wrinkles, leather, everything in one file. And I know Cinema 4D struggled with that, so I was afraid. Oh, damn it! Be careful. You are going too deep on this one. You're gonna not be able to render really fast. This kind of render. I mean, this kind of car.
Yeah,
Tricky.
I hate waiting for renders to parse and stuff. It drives me nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
As you know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, and also you can see the seat post, and I think this is also our friend Matthew from Garagistic. They have these beautiful scenes. He milled like plates that attach to the BMWs that they do. So I know that was a big inspiration for the mount. And I think when you were sleeping one time, I just kind of sketched out in 3D the basic form, but then I realized you can't adjust the seat down because it would hit the thing. So that's a flaw in our design. I just realizing that. I realized that kind of late, and I was like, oh yeah, we can't really move it down, but we could maybe move it this way, but that's a whole different thing potentially. But the white speck is so delicious. My goodness. Yeah. And the little GT2 RXR hit, which is what we call this one, the GT2 RXR. Yeah, it's just so beautiful.
Yeah, this was really fun. It's like a decontextualize the seat from the actual seat, where the natural environment is black and dark, and we're doing just pure white in the white studio. It looks kind of bizarre, but it's so much fun to see in this way. It's great.
It's a beautiful thing and a wonderful conceptualization. I think you had done it and I was like, yeah, this is the best thing ever. It just looks so cool. You know, I love juxtaposition, and I love that as match what you just said. Like the seat naturally goes in a car and it's consumed and wrapped around the car's interior. And now here it's like on its own podium, its own isolated element. It's an object of beauty and one to be studied and revered, which is really beautiful. Yeah, the seat is nuts. And inside the car, I'd say, and I know it's an opinion of ours, but if we didn't tell you and you didn't know this, you would think that this was just, hopefully you would think that this is just the spec that Porsche made. And that's really the goal. We wanted it to blend. And I think that's one of the compliments personally. When I see this, I'm like, this looks like it belongs in OEM Plus. Perfect. And that to me is like the ultimate the ultimate goal, because you never know. We didn't know if it was going to work, if it was going to fit in there and blend in and feel like it belonged, but damn, it fits in there perfectly.
it sounds stupid, but it's true. I went too blind and so broad about, yeah, let's do a seat and whatever shape, whatever is going to look amazing. But I never thought about the actual implementation of the seat on the car. And it was a nice surprise to put the seat in it, and it worked out. Yeah. Cool. All right. Amazing. I can breathe. Imagine the situation that, at least for me, the seat doesn't fit the car. That
Death.
could be a massive headache.
Yeah, instant death. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that you can see the roll cage through the seat as well. Like it's just, come on, man. This is so cool. This is the coolest stuff. Yeah, it's a huge compliment, and it actually it complements the interior. It feels like, look at this massive gap and hole here. Like, again, not only does it have it in the top where the spine goes, but it has it down low. So the if you run a 5-point harness in this car, which you could, because you have the roll cage, you could have everything connect nice and clean and seamless and lay over, make it easy to get in and out and click in. Yeah, just tying together. As I mentioned, I know that we have our own opinions of this, but this feels OEM plus to the roof. And I'm hoping that if you're watching this and want to build something with us, you can see that we're not just render guys. We're not just people that do renders, that we're conceptualizing, thinking, and we're not just doing exteriors anymore as well. We're consistently pushing ourselves into boundaries unknown as we work, and the seat is one of those like steps in a chapter forwards of what we're thinking. Because imagine the dream scenario is this gets built, and the seat gets built, and the car gets built, and everything gets built, and it all is one harmonious, beautiful thing. Yes, and so it's real, which would be amazing. Yeah,
Totally, man. Yeah, we did also the roll cage as well.
Yeah.
It's there with all the details, blending and welding.
Yeah, you made all the weld marks and everything. Crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
It's delicious. Yeah, it's really beautiful. Beautiful cage work. And the GT2, GT3 race spec versions of these cars come without back seats, and then the cage implemented into the chassis. And so this is a great thing. And nice that you highlighted it with red. I think red or white is the game, or black maybe, but yeah. And then the extra gussets for supports over the top roll, the top bar is really beautiful. It's just awesome. Yeah, it's beautiful, and all comes together. If you want to see more of these, we'll have them on the website and stuff too. All this, for most of them will be on the website. Yeah.
Yeah. It's going to be laid out over there.
Yeah. Just beautiful. Simply amazing. Yeah. I need to take more vacations to let you go crazy. So you spiral.
I'm not sure about that. I will take more holidays too.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. Crazy, man. Okay, the tire now. So one of our good friends, partners is Toyo, and through Stan Chen, who's a friend of mine and ours, and we met at SEMA when we debuted Tim Hicks from Industry Garage, the 240Z that we did together, the crazy 240Z. If you have not seen that, you should probably just Google that. It's everywhere on the internet. And when we met Stan, we've been always trying to look for a partner. As we mentioned, with tires and wheels and these kind of things are essential to get right. And so I texted Stan, and I was like, hey, do you have anything that's in this spec? So I think we Googled or checked we checked to see what this tire size was for the GT3 Cup cars or the Porsche Racing Cup cars. And we got the basic specs, and I said, do you have anything like that? Does Toyo make it? And he's like, we do. We have this like kind of prototype that they're building. And I was like, can you just send that to me? And then he did. And that's amazing, right? It's like we have these resources because, again, building the tire is crazy. And so it was in my garage. You can kind of see the Z back here. And then I put it there just to show how insane the width was. People were thinking I was putting this on the car. It would not fit, obviously. But yeah, then I just did tons of photos of it for our reference.
It's beautiful, man. When you show me all the reference videos and pictures, it blew my mind, the behavior of that materials on your garage. I couldn't believe, and it started to grumble a little bit, making really insecure. Are we going to be able to pull this off? Because it's so difficult, because this specific tire doesn't have any marks.
No marks.
And nothing. It's just rubber.
Yeah.
And doing that is so hard.
Super hard. Yeah. It's a
But
task.
not even happy with that, you were super confident and say, "Hey, I want in this time. Let me build this tire."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that just was you doing this tire.
Yeah, I mean, we did work on it together, but I would say it was really fun because, as you just mentioned, yeah, there was a huge task, and I think I came back from vacation. You had done the seat, and I was like, "That I have to do some big thing now. I got to pull some
Now is
weight.
my time. Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah.
got to get hold my beer. Let me get in here a little bit." And so yeah, it was really fun. I think having the tire at home and then being able to see it, I was able to model it, and you helped me with the UV so we could unlock that, which is great. I don't think I have Rhizome on my computer, so you did that, which is fantastic. And then from there, it was texturing, right? And building out the decals and taking the UV and understanding where all this kind of goes. And so this is a 325/17 18 by 18. So
Love that.
in the race spec, and getting it all accurate and looking at data, and then also putting our little Q in there, and then the Toyo stuff, and building all these graphics and designs. It does take a lot of time, but it adds to it. As you mentioned, how are we going to do this? The tire is so simple. It's dangerous, right? Because the shader has to carry so much weight, so you have to be really accurate. But it also has these little ripples and like little bits and pieces and data, and try to implement those. And yeah, it just went crazy. It was so much of like back and forth, right? It was like, okay, how much negative displacement, how much positive displacement, and then how much do we push it, how much do we pull it, and then going back to Adobe Illustrator and Photoshop and changing the opacity, because you're working with complete white and complete black, and every value in between that is how much height that happens. And so how much do you push and how much do you pull? And then thankfully we had the reference and then other references, and tying those all together, and just kind of the both of us just went crazy. What I loved is I gave you a really solid base to have objectivity on, and then you came in and pushed the shader even further by deep diving into the anisotropic angle of the shader material, by understanding how the light bounces on it, because you had all the references. And I'd say that this is probably one of the best tires we've ever made to this date. It's the most realistic, I'd say, of all of them. And thanks to Stan from Toyo, thanks to Toyo for being a sponsor partner of this CGI tire for our conceptual
Thanks,
RXR.
Thank you, man. Thank you. Send that tire to me. When I saw the videos, it was a jaw dropping. Like, oh my god, how I'm gonna try to mimic that behavior. It's impossible. Yeah, I can't. I don't know how. But the key point here, if you play with 3 element here, just shout out to the guys, Corona, all this software. It's crazy. You're able to do something really close.
Yeah.
And at the same time, this is really simple material still running by texture. But 3 elements is the reflection, the glossiness, and the anisotropic. With an anisotropic, it gives you another open window for possibilities and behavior for the specular. And it's really hard to manage. But soon you understand what is the value, the correct value, you open new opportunity to make something really cool. In theory, an anisotropic is everywhere, but it's really visible for rubber, plastic, also. What else could be
Like
really
glossy
visible?
elements.
Carbon fiber, if you want to kind of fake it,
Yeah.
you can use those values. Also in tires. I don't used to play with that because it's really tricky and becomes really exhausted to play.
Yeah.
But in this one, we have to, because there's not really much to
There's
play
no
with.
tread. Yeah.
Yeah, just nothing there. So yeah, turned out really cool, man.
Yeah, I love it. And again, as teamwork, I love being able to do that. So you're sleeping, I'm working on the tire, I'm pushing it, trying to get it to the highest level, taking care of all the things. And then I'm like, here you go. And then you come with fresh eyes, objectivity, and then you can execute at the highest level, take it and keep moving it. And then I think we got it to a place where we're like, well, I think we're good. Which leads us into the next thing, which is we just pulled some of our favorite shots from this. This is kind of a funny joke too. We were talking about is when we first started doing renders and stuff, it was like, oh, we did, 10 renders or 15 renders, woo, and now it's like we're in like 150 now. We're doing like so many renders, and usually proof of that is when we love the vehicle and we really are feeling excited about it. The more we want to show it, see it, and evolve it, and kind of experience it. And these are some epic hero shots that you had done, and I know they were inspired by the photography that you love, but at the same time, some of the shots that were captured from thermal, which with BBI, and this is ironically an HDRI from thermal. So this is the same track, but with our 997 RXR. So it's like this really fun thing. You were not there, but you're making it here in CGI based on the inspiration, and it's just. Talk about that. It's so cool. I love it. Just, I get these little gifts where you just kind of come out and be like, here you go. I'm like, this is insane. So good. Yeah.
But it's true that this project went out of the windows with renders because we love the car. There's so many possibilities from the 3 version for the race spec, and then liveries, and then what about the car is running? What about the car here in places? It's just endless. And it was so much fun. We cannot wait to see your reaction, guys. Go to the website and see all the renders, because we have a lot of renders. And one of them, which was so much fun, as you mentioned, I get inspired really deeply with your shooting. Also, as you know, we always kind of sharing photographers, the way they shoot the motorsport. The long length is one of the key features, because it's a race track, so you have to be really careful. These cars are running so quick, and you have to be really far for the fence, and then to be able to capture the car really close with a long lens. I don't know what it could be. It's 200 millimeters, something like that.
Yeah, when I shot there, if I was shooting far away, I would usually use my 70 to 200, and then I would use an extender that would take it to 400 because of 2 exits. So sometimes I would use a 400 mil. You get this like ultra compression, because yeah, you're right. Physically you can't get close to the cars because it's dangerous. I was thankful I was able to get somewhat close to it on straights. But then I was able to go up on this like bird's nest section and like just shoot as it was ripping by. It's so difficult to shoot automotive. And I also shoot in a weird way where I don't like to. Sometimes I shoot it manual and I don't spray too. Like sometimes they just go, like in this. Hopefully one of
almost
them is
like,
good.
Almost like a video.
Basically a video at high res, yeah. But yeah, so this is just really beautiful. I love the tilt and curve of the car, the lean in. Yeah.
I encourage people to try something. I remember both of us talking about the conversation of using long lens or open wide lens. But as soon as you're using super long lens in the real environment and outside, it starts to feel realistic, because that's basically what happened when you have a racetrack passing. You are losing long lens and try to capture in what kind of shutter speed, high shutter speed. So the car here is not moving. I just basically placing there is freeze, move the body on the left to feel like the car is translating the weight. There you go. It feels like it's running there. And that's basically understanding the photography. You can go even wild with just animating the car running, but that could be another level. Because I knew what I want this. So I just recreated. Big shout out to CGI background. They provide us this amazing HRI. Yeah. And it was key for us to make this happen.
Yeah, if you want really great HDRIs, which I know we see our colleagues and friends using, which are great, and we use them as well. CGI backgrounds, that's what it is, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
CGI backgrounds.
Yeah. Yep. Which is awesome, a great resource. And cool, the irony, as I mentioned, is like they're using the track that, I mean, I've been to Thermal multiple times, thankfully, but it's a private track out in Palm Springs area, and it's just like epic, and it's so insane. And so it's so cool. Again, as I mentioned, like, oh, how about this transparent material? And just sprinkle that, and then, okay, I'm out of here. Hey, how about these photographs? Yeah.
Wouldn't it be cool doing that?
I'm going to sleep now. Yeah, wouldn't it be cool if the car moved? Yeah.
And the car is moving, and the driver is there. You know, translating the weights on the left, try to make the apex over there.
Yeah,
man. The G4.
Well, you also know this too, because you love F1, you love automotive, you love karting, so you understand how this works as well, which is good, because if you didn't understand that, then the driver would be like, like
Totally
straight up
straight.
instead of
Yeah,
kind of turning. Yeah. The shallow depth off of a long lens with the composition of the mountains here is just fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it.
To be fair, it's not really tricky. You have to just understanding and finding photography. It's there. It's out there. Just plenty of amazing photographer doing this.
Yeah.
Just try to understand why this long lens, why the car is doing this, why is the body, why you just do it.
Yeah.
Basically copy.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, a lot of the reference is just like taking that and then being inspired, and then it's not uncommon for us to take a ton of references and throw them in a pile and like consolidate and then put them forwards, right? Because we're done with the design phase. Now it's time to see it, and then also see it with like a livery on it. Usually, our joke is we'll cover a car that we're not confident about with a livery. But we're very confident about this car, and it's a 360 car, as I mentioned, above the ground. But this was fun because it's being able to see it in this way, in this livery, and just the way that you kind of put it all together. It's going to tie into an amazing apparel drop that we're going to do as well. We'll have to talk about that at some point down the road too. But everything kind of ties from this, and the two worlds blend and feed one another, which is really fun. But yeah, our conceptual car and the design of it, it's all coming to fruition. Yeah. I picked this one last night. You didn't pick this one, but yeah.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, you should see. So like Carlos and I, as I mentioned, we probably rendered about 150 or so, and then I think we just were deleting and throwing out a bunch of stuff, which is another important part of the collaboration. Sometimes you get too precious and you just put the stuff in, you're not sure if it's good or not, and you just do it because it took a lot of work, and then you think that validates it. But when we go through and kill off those renders, I have zero problem. I'm like,
yep.
What do you like? What do you like? And okay, let's get rid of it. Boom, forwards, and don't be precious. And what was fun is I was like, Carlos, you pick your heroes and I'll pick mine, and we'll just throw them in the file, and then we can kind of adjust from there. And then you didn't pick this one, but I mean, there's a lot of them that I love from this one, but I really like this one. There's a lot of really cool things going on because you've found this new livery, which is an inversion of that one. And then you have the carbon coming through, and it's like an odd angle. Like it's odd, but it works really well. Like it feels real. I'd suppose what we're trying to do now with the renders is feel more naturalistic. And that's going against making it feel realistic CGI wise, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. So when things are overexposed, they're overexposed. When things are underexposed, they just go into darks. When the camera's moving, it's off kilter, and the focus plane might be a little off. And I think that's where we're leaning towards it. Both of us, I see, are leaning more towards this naturalistic approach to rendering. And I feel like this one has that. There's a couple more I'll talk about with that aspect of it, but it's a fun, I love seeing it. It's a fun evolution for the concept of this, where we're going with this stuff. And it's really fun to talk about this evolution. Yeah.
It could be because coming from my background of working with advertising, I'm pretty sure you have as well.
Yeah.
In advertising, basically the whole point, it gets so much sugar on it. Yeah. And it looks so fake, even though you're using photography. So that's true. We are leaning more in a natural way, and it's really hard. It's really hard to play.
Well, you put
natural.
imperfections into it.
Yeah, imperfection on the photography is really hard. For CG, it's just crazy amount of work. You can make it for so many different aspects, from the actual car design, proportion, modeling, texture, lighting, color grades, just everything's there and it's visible. And this could be one of those odd renders because lighting is not really pleasant for the eye, just almost direct lighting. Mm-hmm. The angle is weird, it's off and it's tilted, but that's really cool. That's how I will do it.
Yep, I love it. It feels like a real thing, and that's why I wanted to mention it. I think it kind of ties into where I think we're going to evolve with this stuff, is just being as much naturalistic as possible, whatever feels natural and in the moment. What does natural mean to some people? And, because we do come from the agency world or the advertising world, and I absolutely do not like that stuff at all. So when we do this, it's like, I want to go the anti-version of that, which is like, no, you don't do post work. Like, this is just a render that's been graded. There's little to no post work, which is really the goal.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Having fun with it. Yeah, I love this one too. Again, the same thing, right? It feels like you're just there with like a fixed lens camera and the light's cool. It's not perfect and it's like boom. Yeah. And
But
the
it's true
shader,
that,
my God, the shader looks so good here.
but to get to this stage is a lot of work, as you know.
Yeah.
It's just it's really tricky. Sometimes you don't find these angles because the car falls apart in different angles, the lighting, just so many factors to play here. And these fortunately click really quickly. All right, this Porsche looks so good in this angle, and then boom, change a little bit lighting and move on.
Yeah. It's a really beautiful shot. I love how the blue falls off. I love how good Woofy's poly model came out. I mean, we were pushing hard with this. This was so essential, and we pushed super hard to get here. So thanks again to him for pulling it off. And then just all the details and the decals. Like, I love all this stuff too. We didn't even talk about the decals. We always do that. We always build a decal cap that basically we throw a bunch of stuff on the car from.
Oh man, yeah.
That's a fun thing, but that's a whole nother process thing.
Yeah, maybe we can talk about on when we do the next move on the drop. But but for sure, this is coming basically from you, where you dispose for us amazing package of decals. From there, everything happens, and it was so much fun to play because the car is already unwrapped, so I can just play with the decals, UVs, colors. It's just mental. It was so much fun. That's why we have so many renders.
Yeah, truly. We had so many options. It was so fun. I know you didn't pick this one, and I picked it because I love like really what kind of it shows the car. And it kind of, so what I'm explaining is we both do renders independently, and Carlos did this render. And when we collect everything, I picked this one specifically because I didn't make this one. And I love this vantage point. Yeah, it's symmetrical and it doesn't have like crazy conceptual composition, and it does feel somewhat static. But the thing I love about it is it shows the car in a really cool way. And the rear of the car, it feels just as aggressive, if not more aggressive than the front of it. And we didn't get a chance to really show that. And I think this render really does a great job of it, especially because you're going up high enough to see the wing kind of cut into the forms of the car. This hard, almost perfectly straight shape cutting into these curvature short lines and stuff. It's really fun. Just really, really, really stoked on it. And
yeah. In this angle, the car looks really aggressive.
Super aggressive. And, we love this. You'll see, we love the race spec version of this car. We love the street spec too, and we have some renders of that too. But yeah.
But those wheels, man, that make the day.
Yeah, we're turbofan lovers, and there was I forget the name of the company. They did this recent rebuild of the GT3 or GT3 RX, but they did this kind of semi turbofan in the Totem, I think, or something. I can't remember the name of it, but so we were kind of inspired by that. You've also used this on the AX1 and various other prototype cars and concepts we have, but yeah. And a car hits hard if it's silver and it just slaps, it's just, yes.
Also Porsche in silver.
Just a
you
great
can't go
combo
wrong with this. Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. Yeah.
You can't go wrong with the silver.
The king. Yeah. And I love the little haste hit. So again, building the pack of graphics and then giving them to you, and you're a graphic designer yourself, so you know where things cut and move. If you have a Porsche and you want us to make stickers for your car, let us know, because I think this would be fantastic. I can see this working on a 997 anyways, because the door line's pretty much the same. Mm-hmm. So, but I would think it would have to be a race spec version of the car. Nah, just kidding. You can have them. We'll make the stickers. Yeah.
Can you see me in my Volkswagen? Maybe.
No, not allowed. Yeah, no, it's just cool. And we got our Toyo up there, and we didn't really talk about that, but we used the tire reference that was written by hand on the BBI cars. We really love that, and so that was kind of an inspiration. The rotational direction. Where it sits on the car. We have this messed up. We're supposed to have that arrow right here to point to like where the valve is, but
that wasn't bad, man.
No, it's both of us. Yeah, but yeah, that render is really cool. I love this. Why did you pick this one?
I guess it always works,
Yeah.
That was basically the shot. Long lens on the back.
Shallow.
cut the wheels, just no ground. It's just a little bit of hint of the left. You see some real world base, and that's it. That's all you get.
And we got the updated modern version of the haste logo too. We've removed the exclamation point because people were going hasty, and they're like, no, not hasty, not hasty. It's just So now it's just haste. So that helps it as well. So it's kind of fun. Like all prior cars, clothes, everything is the old version, and now we've just dropped that and evolved it.
It's evolving, baby.
It's evolving, baby. Yeah, this render, it looks like an image. Which comes from great references. I think you had a really great reference that was awesome, and this like fall off of the sky into it. You want to talk a bit about this one?
Yeah, it took me a while. It seems easy, but it's not at all. It's crazy. Once you have the reflection of the sky on the glass, and it seems like a gradient of the sky. Yeah, whatever. No. It took me easy 2 hours because I have a reference and I want to copy the reference. I want to do what the reference does. Overcast with the sun cloud. I have a similar HRI. I can do that. That's what I thought. I can do that. Easy. It wasn't easy. So here I had to fake it. Try to mimic the polarizing lens. So I just basically removing half of the reflection on the glass, so be able to see through. I don't know.
Did you use like a false gradient off the side and then block it?
What I used was basically on the materials. I create a new material, copy that. On the reflection channel, I'm just adding a Fresnel even more.
Smart. Okay, that makes sense.
So creating this a massive Fresnel.
And just have it fade out, and then you just get it to the angle. Yeah. So what you're doing is you're trying to cheat the CL lens filter.
Exactly. That's basically mimic the actual polarizing effect. Obviously, it's not even close to reality on the photo, but I can get away with it. And that's the result I wanted. Just be visible, the see-through, to be able to see the roll cage.
Yeah, and that's what I would do if I shot there and had a circular polarizer on the end of my lens. I would just turn it until it deflected the light off of that reflection area so I could see in there. Yeah, very clever, very smart, and it feels real. 2 hours, it makes sense to do that. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, it's beautiful too. Love the shapes and how everything kind of connects
Another
and moves.
Quite successful angle. This Porsche works so well.
Yeah.
And that design of the small windows on the top, also the intake on the bottom. Yeah. It's just everything there.
Yeah, they're doing opposite, right? So this one's going this way and this one's going that way. They're just kind of opposing one another. So one's taking in air, one's letting out air, but they're doing the same shape, just in different forms. Again, harmony. It's all in the harmony of it all. See, look at this line. That line matches that line. That one goes there. That one goes there. If we didn't do that and we didn't match this right, it would look horrible. It truly would. It just wouldn't look right. It would look fake. Damn, look at those freaking chunky meats. And this livery too. So this was a really fun thing, and we'll talk about it in a minute here, but like we were having so much fun. We were passing back livery options and ideas for liveries. And so I would do one, you'd get super inspired, and you'd do one, and I'd go back and try another one, and we would just keep pushing back and forth. And, you know, I think with all of our cars, I'm always deeply inspired by the BMW art cars, and I try to put that into everything we do because I still consider us as artists. And so you want to talk about this because this livery is fantastic. It's very real world feeling. It's somewhat simple on the surface, but it's got such a beauty to it. And I know this is just a crop of that, but yeah, you want to talk about that?
You guys find out these renders on the website, and hopefully you like it. But basically inspired by, you mentioned, real world motorsport racing Porsche. Also, as well, this tone, it goes as well with the McLaren MP4 from the 80s,
the Formula
90s. Yeah, Formula 1.
We kind of love that car. We kind of love it. Just a little bit.
You still love it?
Oh, I love it so much. There might be a reason why we love this specific vehicle, but we'll talk about that later.
Yeah. Something is there. It's cooking. But it's true. This color immediately came like, I need to try this. Boom. And it works so well. The white and the red salmon-ish, orange-ish, weird. It's a banger.
The reason why that paint works is because it's and the reality is it's painted. It's paint that goes over white too. So the white, it's thin and it's opaque and it pushes that, pops it up. That's literally how they did it on the McLaren MP44.
Yeah,
Crazy.
and this is just a hint. This is a teaser of what it's gonna look like. You go to the website; it's there.
Yeah, be sure to check out all this stuff and on the site. Yeah, studio. We debated whether to do studio renders because we were like, we always do it, but it's just kind of a staple.
I think it helps to visualize what is the car. And there you go. Just straightforward. That's what the car looks.
Yeah, I know you had some trepidation about doing black on black because it felt like it was connected too much to Ken Block's legacy, and Ken had this beautiful style to his vehicles where it was matte black with gloss black and then that interplay or dry carbon with it. And so when you had brought it, you were like, oh, I'm worried about this. I'm like, if anything, it's a beautiful tribute, especially if we give credit where credit's due. Ken didn't invent black and matte black and stuff, but what he did is he made it popular, added it to his sauce. And then it always inspires us and motivates us as well. And I think it's just an inspiration, truly. And I love it. I know you had some worries about it, but I think it's, if anything, like it keeps Ken present with us and we're celebrating his impact on us in a beautiful way by paying tribute to it with this livery.
Yeah. But it's funny though. I just realized about that later when I finished all the renders, and then I was looking at it like, this reminds me of something.
You didn't know it when you're doing it?
No, not at all. I love the black car and then mixing both materials, carbon fiber and vinyl, wrapping up the car. We using your graphics. Like, this is a banger. And then I'm thinking, this reminds the green and the black.
There's something about this. It feels familiar.
Hold on, it's just kind of Ken livery shit. Damn. And then I talked to you. This is happening to me.
Yeah.
You were, it's fine. It's good. All good.
Yeah, man. Yeah. We're inspired.
Yeah.
I think it would be a disservice if we acted like we invented this, Oh
no.
But no, it's all the hive mind is a real thing, and we all get inspired by things, and the key is giving love and respect to those that inspire. If we didn't do that, that would be the harm. But this, obviously, you're inspired subconsciously by that, and
totally.
This is like so if we're at the end of the timeline of building. This is this is a couple weeks ago when you were doing these renders and passing them out, which is really fun. And it was just a beautiful thing. Do you want to talk any more about the black livery, these renders?
No, maybe we can talk about that maybe in the next episode or live session, something special. Yeah.
Okay.
Nothing
Make sure you're recording your side of the screen too. I don't see you sharing. So
I'm not sharing anymore, but it's fine.
You sure?
You can drive. Yeah, you can drive.
Okay. Hopefully my file works. Okay. And so I was really inspired, and what I did with this one is I was like, I want to just make the car that I would own for real. The race spec is epic, but I would personally want this spec, which is the race spec wheels and tires on the street spec body. And then I want it in black with like highlight paint and all this kind of stuff. And so this was me living the ultra fantasy of my own. And I remember I was at a car show. I was hanging out with Tim, and then I went to meet Chris Ashton, and Chris had his epic RSR car there, and I was taking photos of that, and we ended up using that as inspiration for this set and setting, but we just changed the time of day and stuff. So that was really cool. So the photos, reality, the new car, all these things was all coming together, and I was like, banger. And yeah, here we go. This is so fun. This is when I felt the car really, in my mind, it like, again, talk about the idea of adding imperfections into the work. It's like slightly angling the angle and getting the camera to be right at about where my eye is, and then setting the horizon and offsetting the car slightly in the space and having these little dynamic moments. I was thankful I got to shoot Tim has a 997. I was able to shoot his. I got kind of familiar with the forms, how I would shoot, and I was moving that along onto this as well. And yeah.
Yeah, I can tell. Man, it's so funny you picked this spec straight away.
Yeah.
I never crossed to my mind to make my own spec.
Yeah, you got to make your own spec, baby. Yeah.
You know why? I think I figured out now. is because I don't see the chance that I'm gonna be able to buy a Porsche.
Because you're already happy with your Volkswagen. That's why
Yeah.
you're satisfied. Your Passat just gives you everything
Who
that you
wants a
need in life.
Porsche? That's too expensive and annoying to drive. I'm gonna drive my Volkswagen
No, you got to
wagon.
live the fantasy, man. Yeah, you got to live it. Yeah, it's so
Yeah,
essential.
you clever man. You already pick up the spec. Actually,
Yeah.
it's really cool spec. I will do the same.
Yeah.
Race tires, black, boom. That's it. That shot. That is the shot.
Well, I made it for both of us, and we can trade it, and then you can borrow it on the weekends. Yeah.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah. This is again a little fun, happy accident. It's like the set is quite barren. There's not a lot to show scale, so the door was in that composition. And then I think I've told you this before, but what really helps me sell this one is it reminds me of the RSR a lot, because the RSR is one of my favorite Porsches, and the wheel comes outside of the door very much a lot. And then because the engine's so big and it takes up so much room, you have to push everything out. So this little triangle of light that comes through just gives breadth and width to the car. If you black that in, you couldn't see the tire width. And it's a subtle thing, but it's like a mega flex.
Yes.
And the street spec mega flex of this car is like, come on, man. It's like, I don't want to be mean or rude, but if I put the stock car in this space and put it against it, we would have a problem visually. Yeah. But again, this is a concept and we're just having fun. But this was a fun set. So this is me rendering, pulling selects and having fun. The naturalistic view of things, the focus, the fall off. Again, trying to find that realism. I have a different approach from you. I don't look at any references when I'm doing this. None. And I just kind of fall into it, let the shot do what it's going to do, and then kind of play with it. Where I think you have this beautiful way of reverse engineering and seeing a photo or a bunch of photos and try to like get closer to it. And it's a cool approach, because when you get all the renders, you get a bunch of different things. The unfortunate thing for me is that there's a lot of dead renders. I might do 50 renders and only 10 of them are going to be the ones that cut it for us, you know.
Yeah, you go fast and efficient. I spend for one shot easy half an hour and try to find the new ones. Oh, is that angle? No, it's like this. Maybe a bounce here. Maybe the specular here. Maybe this here, right? And then spending easy another 2 hours finding the right perfect render.
Yeah.
Crazy. Yeah.
It's the trick. Yeah.
Man, this livery. Tell us
Yeah.
about the livery. This is a banger. Why is this?
Thanks. Yeah, it was. I was telling you, I really wanted to do like the art car version of the cars, and then I wanted to do like a modular setup. So using dithering and like dithering effects, using like different programs and stuff to like create digital perfection.
So wild.
Yeah, and then just bright, crazy colors. And it was just fun. It was like a fun process. Hold on, I gotta let my dog out really quickly. 1 second.
No worries.
1 minute. He's had enough of this podcast. He's like, guys, this is too long. But okay, yeah, let's go back to this. So yeah, it was always a thing that I wanted to do was with this project was to create an art car, and I wanted to evolve what we've done in the past. So the concept, a lot of times when we're working on things, I'm just constantly churning over ideas and thinking about things constantly, and they never leave me. I could be riding my bike or waking up or about to go to sleep, and I'm just chewing on the idea. And it literally looked like this in my vision of idea, which was to make these precision dithering effects that came from like old computers, I suppose, and then blending that into this modern car and using these super opaque pastel-y colors to highlight the forms and create new ones, and use op art as a device and create speed and all these kind of things. And it was so fun. I think I pitched the idea to you in a Photoshop file. I was just taking some of my older random art, and I was like quickly photo bashing it together, and I was like, this is the idea. And you're like, yes. And it's like, okay, cool, let's go. Because yeah, I want to make sure you're stoked on it, and you were obviously supportive of it, and it was just really fun. Yeah.
How I cannot be, man. This is great, and always that blow my mind. You're able to thinking out the box. I don't see any Porsche look like this, and I love that. You know, it's so good to see that new take on this kind of a crazy livery art. As you know, we are a big fan of art liveries, and this is another cherry on top on the project. Creating a special livery in your own take, the way technology works and GT will apply to the Porsche as an art. That is a kind of amazing twist, man. I love that.
Well, couldn't do it without you. It's a true dream team here. Between the three of us, we managed to do some crazy stuff. There's so much stuff here as we've kind of gone through it. This is the longest episode we've ever made, and we appreciate you if you had patience to sit through it all. It means a lot to us. Again, as I mentioned, this is a big statement for us. This is a complete rethink of a thing that we really admire and appreciate, and our biggest admiration for the teams at Porsche and the incredible teams that build these cars. And our hope and goal is to work with you at some point someday. And we really are just humbled and thankful and grateful and excited and just love it. We're very blessed.
Really well said, man. I'm with you with that. And it was, amazing process. I'm so excited. I'm happy to drop it and move to the next one. Also, I cannot deny I'm really curious about the reception of this project for my peeps and friends, because they know I've been working in something big, and this is something like I'm really proud to share. And when I see, for example, my brother, when I show it, what I've been doing, I just showing some hint, and my brother's like, why? What? Are you doing what? Yeah, you're crazy.
You're crazy.
Yes, we are.
Yeah.
Yes,
we'll
we
look
are.
back on this and realize that this was another step, which is great. Yeah.
Yeah.
And oftentimes when an artist is just doing their thing, it seems crazy, and that's a part of the journey. It's the unknown. Why would you do that? You'll see it as it evolves. Yeah. It's a part of the process. We don't come from wealth. We don't have it. We have to manifest it. And every step of the way, we're trying to earn it, and we're doing it together. So yeah, we're really thankful to be able to do this and to be able to have the space and place to be able to do it. And just such a great thing. And if you've sat through this entire thing, we commend you. It's a task. And
Congratulations.
yeah. And these are fun deep dives. Hopefully you've garnered some new knowledge and information and inspiration and muse as you go on to make your beautiful work. And if you're watching this, or if you're watching this and you want to see this come to life and you know somebody that can do it, please tag them, share this with them. Again, our goal is to make these things in reality. It's amazing that they live in the CGI computer space, but we would love to see them for real. So connect us with the builders. If you know somebody who's talented that wants to try this stuff, please reach out. And all the best to you all on your journey. And we're looking forward to the next one. The next one's going to be insane.
Yeah. Also even trickier to make a build.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a whole nother journey. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole new, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. But exactly. Thank you to all. And see you in the next one.
Yeah, babies. Ciao, everybody.